Welcome to the fantasy audiobook. Marvel. Everything around me can mutate. Wanda has mutated too. Chapter 21. Hear what Natasha Romanoff said. Lin Yu was taken aback for a moment. He thought that the two S.H.I.E.L.D. high-level agents, Natasha Romanoff and Phil Coulson, came to him because of the dog's business. Unexpectedly, it turned out to be because of Tony Stark. Although Natasha Romanoff seemed to just ask casually. But Lin Yu's two lives are not ordinary people. Naturally, she can feel the solemnity hidden under her casual appearance. After Lin Yu's brain turned, he quickly thought of the problem. Before Tony Stark disappeared, he bought all his belongings from the stocks of his old rival, Hanmer Industries. Soon after, Tony Stark disappeared. It seemed that he really had something to do with Tony Stark's disappearance. And, during this time, S.H.I.E.L.D. must have noticed himself because of the dog's affairs. At this time, his mobile phone suddenly did this kind of thing. It is reasonable for them to doubt themselves. Lin Yu frowned slightly. It seems to be thinking about how to solve this problem. Natasha Romanoff and Phil Coulson were not in a hurry, but sat on a small bench quietly waiting for Lin Yu's answer. 10 seconds later, the corners of Lin Yu's mouth suddenly turned up slightly, and then said with a smile, "Since you have found me, it is not my character to not help, Tony Stark, I will help you find." Lin Yu waved his hand and said proudly. This answer once again subverted the imagination of Natasha Romanoff and Phil Coulson. Are the two of you here seeking help? But, how do you listen to him? He can help S.H.I.E.L.D. find Tony Stark. Mr. Lin, Natasha Romanoff wanted to explain that he was not here to ask for help. But Lin Yu stopped her again. Don't worry, I don't want benefits. Your S.H.I.E.L.D. is a good unit, helping our people create such a beautiful living environment. I voluntarily donate my weak power, Lin Yu said generously. Then, before Natasha Romanoff could say anything, Lin Yu kicked his feet directly and made the gaming chair turn a half circle. Shouted to the second floor, "Erha, come down to me." Lin Yu just finished speaking. At the entrance of the stairs on the second floor, Erhana's plump figure appeared. But, at the moment's Erha, the green on his body has disappeared. A body of black and white hair was exposed. Hearing Lin Yu's call, it hurriedly climbed from the stairs to Lin Yu's side. It seems that I am afraid that I will be educated by my master when I come late. At this moment, Lin Yu suddenly said to Erha, "Erha, I will give you a task now." Hearing that there was a task, Erha squatted down in front of Lin Yu in a hurry. Lin Yu pointed his finger at Natasha Romanoff, and said, "You go find someone for this sister, do you know that the nose is a little better?" Looking up at Lin Yu's Erha, he nodded ignorantly. It seems to understand some. Seeing this scene, whether it was Natasha Romanoff or Phil Coulson, all were shocked. This dog can actually understand human words. It's amazing. Natasha Romanoff didn't even realize what Lin Yu meant by sister. But, faced with such an obedient Erha, Lin Yu seemed a little dissatisfied. He pointed to Erha's nose and said again, "I'll make your nose smarter, do you know?" Erha nodded again. But Lin Yu is still a little dissatisfied. It seems to be embarrassing. Even Natasha Romanoff thought the dog was a bit pitiful. Everyone clearly nodded, "So what do you want?" But Lin Yu was still reluctant, his eyes gradually narrowed. Holding Erha's chin with one hand, he lifted his head, and then stared at Erha's nose with his eyes tightly and said, "The nose is more slick, otherwise I won't give you food for 10 days. Aside, Natasha Romanoff and Phil Coulson were both stunned. This guy really has a problem with his brain. To such an obedient dog, it was so severe. Intimidate a pet dog. It's not human. Hearing this sentence, Erha seemed a little scared. If you don't eat for 10 days, what would it be like to be hungry? Erha's body began to tremble slightly. However, at this time, a smile suddenly appeared on Lin Yu's face. Because, just when he threatened Erha, the prompt in my mind finally rang. Ding, because your pet Erha is afraid of your threat, his nose has mutated and his sensitivity has increased tenfold. At the moment, Lin Yu was in sight. A line of small print also appeared on Erha's nose. Name, Husky Nose. Variation Direction, Sensitivity. Variation Level, Level 1. Although it is only Level 1, the dog's nose is already very sensitive. After it has increased tenfold, it shouldn't be a problem to help S.H.I.E.L.D. find Tony Stark. At the moment, Lin Yu finally proved his conjecture. Although he can't control the mutation around him, but it can be guided. At this moment, Lin Yu raised his foot again and kicked Erha's. Erha glanced at Lin Yu bitterly, then stood up reluctantly, and walked to Natasha Romanoff's face. Its little tail swayed slightly, seeming to please Natasha Romanoff. No woman can resist a cute pet like Erha. Even Natasha Romanoff is no exception. Although she knew that Erha might be the monster that almost destroyed most of the New York military base. But it looks a little cute now. Natasha Romanoff couldn't help but leaned down, touched Erha's head, and interacted with Erha. This picture is beautiful and harmonious. Lin Yu couldn't help taking out a pair of glasses from his pocket and putting it on his face, for fear of missing this beautiful picture. It seems to be influenced by Natasha Romanoff. Lin Yu's face also showed a smile like a spring breeze. S.H.I.E.L.D. headquarters. When I saw Natasha Romanoff and Phil Coulson coming back, with a plump husky behind them. Nick Fury is dumbfounded. Especially, this husky still looks familiar. What's your situation? Nick Fury asked suspiciously. Didn't the two go out to perform the task? It's a bit early to come back. And, what is the situation with this pet dog? Looking at the puzzled S.H.I.E.L.D. director Nick Fury, Phil Coulson showed a wry smile on his face. In this mission, since they arrived at the grocery store, the two of them have been led by the nose by the guy named Lin Yu. Not only did he fail to complete any tasks, but he was also forcibly stuffed with a dog back. I simply lost the face of S.H.I.E.L.D. Compared to Phil Coulson, Natasha Romanoff has a thicker skin. She spread her hands and said with a wry smile, the task is not completed, that guy is too difficult to deal with. Nick Fury frowned tightly when he heard Natasha Romanoff's words. Difficult to deal with. Did you do it with him? Nick Fury asked hurriedly. What he worries most is this. And, before Natasha Romanoff went to perform the task, he specifically emphasized that he must not offend that guy. No, there is no chance to do it. Natasha Romanoff was crying without tears. If you really do it, at least you can have a little more fun. But, the actual situation is worse. The details of himself and Phil Coulson are completely clear to each other. Moreover, from beginning to end, he looked confident. The whole city opened its eyes and talked nonsense. If you really do it, I'm afraid it's definitely me who is unlucky. Come on, what happened between you and Lin Yu? Nick Fury asked again. Natasha Romanoff quietly took 2 steps back, letting Phil Coulson out. Let Phil Coulson and Nick Fury talk about this kind of thing in detail. After a few minutes, Phil Coulson finally made it clear what happened. At this moment, Nick Fury's face has also become extremely gloomy. When was the agent information of S.H.I.E.L.D. exposed? And, this perverted husky broke into the headquarters of S.H.I.E.L.D. so easily. Looking at the innocent faces of Phil Coulson and Natasha Romanoff, and then at the huskies squatting on the ground, wagging their tails, Nick Fury felt a little big head. This husky, if it goes wild in the S.H.I.E.L.D. base, it will be over. Since Lin Yu said that this dog can help him find Tony Stark, let him try. Moreover, only dogs who are not in the S.H.I.E.L.D. base are good dogs. In this case, you two take this pet dog to find Tony Stark. Nick Fury arranged directly. He looked at Erha, who seemed harmless to humans and animals, squatting on the ground, and ordered again, now, go now. Outside the United States, a deserted place. This is where the boss of Stark Industries, Tony Stark, last appeared before his disappearance. Here, the wreckage of several military off-road vehicles was bombed all over the ground. The scattered bullet shells and bullet holes that can be seen everywhere, all represent that a terrible battle has just happened here. At this moment, a total of 3 teams appeared on the scene at the same time. The 3 teams represent 3 different official departments. The largest of them is the unit of the United States military. They have a dozen armored vehicles and 3 helicopters. Almost hundreds of heavily armed soldiers are standing by. At the same time, their greatest reliance is 10 specially trained military dogs. These military dogs are all Labrador retrievers. Each of them is strong and full of momentum. And, the most powerful thing about these military dogs is that they all have a stronger sense of sight and smell than ordinary dogs. In search tasks, they are the best among dogs. The second team has a slightly smaller number of people. They were all dressed in black, with grim faces. These people are FBI people. Each of them held a strange box in their hands. According to their own statement, this box is the latest technology product of Hanmer Industries. A wide range of scans can be performed by collecting the biological characteristics of the human body. Although such equipment is expensive. But, in order to find Tony Stark, FBI also paid for it. The last team is naturally S.H.I.E.L.D. Compared to the other two teams, S.H.I.E.L.D. is not too famous. After all, the plot of the Marvel world has just begun, and many major events have not happened yet. S.H.I.E.L.D. has won without much chance to show up. Even the military and FBI have little knowledge of S.H.I.E.L.D. But, when S.H.I.E.L.D.'s car came down with 2 people and 1 dog. The whole style of painting has changed. Those 2 are okay. But, that dog, it's too weird. It turned out to be a husky. Still a fat husky. When I got off the car, I even staggered and rolled directly on the ground. This meow is to be funny. Whether it is the FBI people or the military soldiers, all are happy. This moment, even Phil Coulson feels that S.H.I.E.L.D. has lost his face. Definitely, the soldiers of the military and the men in black of FBI also only despised them in their hearts. A slight sneer appeared on his face. Did not make any outrageous moves. After all, the task is important. The FBI person, holding the box in his hand, started to operate it on the spot. The soldiers of the United States Army, led by 10 military dogs, searched for Tony Stark's trace among the wreckage. It looks extremely professional. As for Natasha Romanoff and Phil Coulson on the S.H.I.E.L.D. side, they are a little at a loss. They are not professional search and rescue personnel. The above asked S.H.I.E.L.D. to come out to find Tony Stark, but he just went to the doctor in a hurry. Not to mention, not only the 2 of them don't understand, but Erha don't understand. At the moment, seeing everyone else getting busy, Erha is still lying quietly on the ground, seeming to be enjoying the sun. The other side, while searching for the smell of Tony Stark, the military dogs looked in the direction of the huskies from time to time. This Labrador Retriever has high intelligence. It is said to be comparable to 5 or 6-year-old children. At the moment, seeing a husky pet dog came to join in the fun, they looked at Erha with contempt. A pet dog robbed his noble Labrador Retriever for work. It's ridiculous. Naturally, human beings cannot see it. However, Erha and them are both dogs, but they can see clearly. But, Erha didn't bother to pay attention to them. How can the blood of the noble 3-headed dog of hell be familiar with these lower creatures? However, the performance of Erha made these army dogs even more proud. One by one, they held their heads high, seeming to be triumphant because of their noble blood. At this moment, watching other teams start to act, Natasha Romanoff and Phil Coulson looked at each other, then Phil Coulson took out a watch from his pocket. This watch was worn by Tony before. Phil Coulson put the watch slowly in front of Erha's nose. The meaning is obvious, I want Erha to smell it. But, after waiting for a while, the 2 found that Erha was unmoved. And, from Erha's nostrils, the voice of, roar Lou, came out. What's going on? Fell asleep. The faces of Phil Coulson and Natasha Romanoff suddenly all showed a bitter look. This dog is as difficult to deal with as his master. Natasha Romanoff sighed deeply, then returned to the car. After a while, he actually took out a chicken leg. Orleans taste. Finally, Erha's eyes opened. The nose began to twitch. Far away, 10 Labrador Retrievers raised their heads at the same time and looked in the direction of Erha. In their eyes, there was no more arrogance, but a trace of envy. This all works. A dog is better than a dog, annoyed a dog. However, they looked at the soldiers who were holding the dog chains around them, but they all dispelled the idea of strike. Fate is different. After swallowing the chicken legs in Natasha Romanoff's hands into his stomach in one bite, the spirit of Erha came in an instant. Sniffed twice on that watch. Then he moved his fat body and climbed into the car again. Natasha Romanoff and Phil Coulson looked at each other and went to the car. At this moment, Erha suddenly stretched out his front paws and pointed to the west. The meaning is obvious. The goal is in the west. 2 hours later, after a long journey, Natasha Romanoff and Phil Coulson finally drove to the vicinity of a dilapidated village. Far away, the 2 stopped the car. Phil Coulson took his binoculars and looked at the village in the distance. According to the direction pointed out by Erha, the target seems to be in that village. But, after Phil Coulson looked through the binoculars for a while, he frowned slightly. This village looks very ordinary. But, he could see the groups of soldiers holding weapons inside. At least there are hundreds of militants. At this moment, Natasha Romanoff took the telescope and observed it for a while. This place turned out to be a base for terrorists. Although it is very simple, there are many personnel and weapons. To break through here, I am afraid that more support is needed. What should I do? Call the special service team in the bureau, or notify the soldiers of the military? Phil Coulson asked. Obviously, the armed forces here are beyond the range that the two can deal with. Although both of them are high-level agents, they are very strong. But, they are not willing to take such a big risk. 2 people, 2 pistols, to harden the armed forces of hundreds of people is simply looking for death. But, after hearing what Phil Coulson said, Natasha Romanoff did not answer. Her gaze suddenly turned to Erha, who was sitting in the back seat of the car, who was so bored. At the same time, Phil Coulson followed Natasha Romanoff's gaze and looked at Erha. He knew what Natasha Romanoff meant. But, a husky, it is exaggerated to find Tony Stark 100 kilometers away along the smell. Let it deal with an armed force of hundreds of people. Phil Coulson has seen a video of the abomination of the 3-headed dogs in hell. I have also seen the Hulk Erha attacking a New York military base. But, he still couldn't connect this somewhat chubby pet dog with the 2 monsters. How can this cute husky become that kind of monster? Does it really work? Phil Coulson's eyes were full of doubt. But, just when Phil Coulson still had some hesitation in his heart, Natasha Romanoff has acted. She doesn't care about that much. Now the location of the target has been determined. Rescue the target as soon as possible is what they need to do the most. Roar is called the SHIELD Special Service Team, and it is estimated to be a long time. As for those soldiers, Natasha Romanoff couldn't bear it. Just now, when they saw Erha, the faint mockery and disdain in their expressions Natasha Romanoff could see clearly. It is impossible for them to share a piece of the pie. Natasha Romanoff is not a generous person. She came to the trunk, and after tumbling over and over, she brought out a big pot directly. In the big pot, all are chicken legs. Put the chicken drumsticks in front of Erha, and said to Erha, "You help me save the target, this pot of chicken drumsticks are all yours." There was a certain smile on Natasha Romanoff's face. "This 2 hectares, I like to eat chicken drumsticks." This was what Lin Yu told her before the grocery store left. But, what puzzled Natasha Romanoff was that Erha didn't respond when faced with a big pot of chicken legs. Isn't these rewards enough? Natasha Romanoff suddenly became anxious. What do you want to eat? I will buy it for you right away when I finish the task, as much as I want. How about that? When you help me rescue people, I will take you to the pet shop to pick a little fool. Aside, Phil Coulson looked dumbfounded. Natasha Romanoff actually bargained with a dog. And, the most terrifying thing is that the dog turned out to be ignorant. Its eyes are full of disdain. Yes, just disdain. This husky can definitely understand Natasha Romanoff's words. However, none of these conditions can satisfy him. Looking at this, Phil Coulson's worldview began to faintly shake. Is this the Earth that I understand? Natasha Romanoff was also anxious. This dog is too difficult to serve. Can be called oil and salt do not enter. Finally, Natasha Romanoff's heart slammed and changed his approach. You are so passive and sabotage, be careful, I will go back and sue your master. Natasha Romanoff said viciously. Hearing this sentence, Erha's expression immediately changed. Before it mutated, its owner had been bullying it, using it to deceive the feelings of those ignorant girls. After the mutation, because of the system, it has a natural fear of Lin Yu who has the system. Now when I heard that this big brainless woman was about to sue Erha can be terrified. His head hurriedly lit up like a rattle. Before Natasha Romanoff had any reaction, Erha's head suddenly became bigger. And, the whole body appeared dark red. There was a big mouth in the blood basin, and even the basin and drumsticks were swallowed all at once. In this scene, Natasha Romanoff and Phil Coulson hurriedly jumped out of the car. Really, this dog was the monster who swallowed his hatred head that day. This time, The two finally saw the scene transformed. Natasha Romanoff and Phil Coulson looked at each other, and both saw a sense of horror in each other's eyes. At that moment, they could feel the sudden increase in temperature in the air. Although it was only a moment, they already felt that there was a smell of burnt on their hair and eyebrows. That temperature is really terrible. But, just when the two jumped out of the car and waited quietly. A few seconds later, Erha's fat body finally rolled off the car slowly. It has become the original appearance again. Dragging his bloated body, Erha wandered towards the distant village. As I walked, I didn't forget to look back at Natasha Romanoff. There seemed to be a message in its eyes. Do not forget our agreement. Natasha Romanoff's heart trembled suddenly. This dog. It seems really not easy to fool. In the village, a group of militants are gathering together, smoking cigarettes and chatting. A somewhat fat husky suddenly came out from the corner on the side. The eyes of these militants lit up. A hint of surprise suddenly appeared on his face. In this place where birds do not shit, as long as it is a piece of meat, it can make people drool. What's more, it's a chubby pet dog. They are a group of frenzied terrorists, and they don't have the slightest psychological burden to shoot ordinary people. What's more, it's a delicious dog. One of the militants directly took up the weapon in his hand and aimed at Erha's head. The teammates next to him also showed a salivating expression. A delicious meal is beckoning to them. At the moment, in a well-defended cave, Tony Stark is discussing how to escape with his difficult brother, Dr. Ethan. Not long after coming to this cave, Tony thought of a way. There is a lot of knowledge stored in his mind. So, soon, a sketch of a steel armor was completed. If you make this steel armor according to the design on this sketch, you will definitely be able to escape from this place. Seeing this design drawing, Dr. Ethan was shocked. It only took less than a day. Tony Stark made a new type of energy source to replace the electromagnet on his chest. At the same time, he thought of a way to escape. He admired Tony Stark's ability. So it made him firm in his determination to follow Tony. But, just when the two were discussing how to start making steel armor, they seemed to hear terrible explosions, gunfire, and noisy roar shouts from outside. There was a fight outside. Tony was overjoyed. What kind of steel armor is still being made? Regardless of who is beating who is outside, taking advantage of this chaos, running out as the kingly way. And at the moment, outside the cave, has completely turned into a sea of flames. The huge body of the three-headed dog of hell appears again. The flames of horror are everywhere. Even if he didn't touch the body of the three-headed hell dog, the dry branches began to burn. The ground began to appear charred. Countless militants fled in all directions. Some fled to the distance and attacked the three-headed dog from hell. But, the bullets melted before they touched its body. It can't cause any harm at all. And at the moment, under the high temperature, the guys who were going to turn Erha into dinner have been roasted. The three heads of hell have three heads, and they opened their mouths at the same time. One bite. It's as easy as eating peanuts. This group of militants was completely shocked. They have seen such terrifying creatures there. For a time, all the militants ran away one after another, for fear that they would become the dinner of this terrifying monster. Far away, Natasha Romanoff and Phil Coulson were holding binoculars in their hands, and they looked at the terrifying picture with horror. Although the distance is far away, and they have seen the three-headed hell dog fighting with abomination from the video. But, what you see in the video is completely different from the reality. Only when you are on the scene can you understand how desperate it is in front of such a monster. At the same time, they finally understood how abnormal a guy who can kick this monster around all day long should be. At the moment, in the cave, Ethan and Tony Stark came quietly to the door that locked them. This gate, made entirely of steel, is very strong. If you want to rely on your own strength, it may be difficult to open this door. But, when the two walked to the door, there was a violent knock on the ground from outside the door. Boom, boom, boom. It seems that some terrifying monster is walking towards this cave step by step. The two hurried back 2 steps in fright. This sound, every time it sounds, can shake the cave slightly. The gravel on the top of the head is constantly falling. Finally, the voice stopped. The two of them looked nervously in the direction of the door, and suddenly an uneasy emotion arose in their hearts. At this time, the door in front of him exudes a terrifying heat. Immediately afterwards, it turned red unexpectedly. Finally, slowly melt. The two were terrified. What kind of high temperature can melt such a large iron gate? They hurried back. In addition, he found some bunkers and hid him, only showing a pair of eyes looking in the direction of the cave gate in horror. The gate of the cave has not completely turned into a pool of molten iron. Because, just at this time, a terrifying head suddenly knocked out a hole in the iron gate with huge amounts of. Then, a giant got into the cave. That huge amounts of head completely covers the entire hole. It looks like a huge dog head burning with dark red flames. In its mouth, red molten iron is continuously flowing to the ground, like flowing magma. Basketball file sizes two eyes seem to be looking for something in the cave. Just being stared slightly by that eye, Ethan fainted in fright. In those eyes, there seems to be a sea of dead mountains and blood, which is infinitely terrifying. Tony's situation is a little better. But it's not better. His spirit almost collapsed. He just watched less than 2 seconds longer than Ethan. I felt that my eyes seemed to be burning. And his body was already full of burnt smell. The hair became twisted, and the eyebrows began to curl up one by one. Tony wanted to cry without tears. Immediately afterwards, also imitating Ethan's appearance, fainted in shock. Erha, who was transformed into a three-headed dog from hell, shoved his head into the cave. And the moment when Tony Stark was found, Lin Yu, who was in the grocery store on 58th Avenue in New York, finally received the system prompt. Ding! Congratulations to the host for participating in the Marvel plot, Iron Man is born, and earning 2 plot points. Please the host to continue their efforts. Ding! Warm reminder, the story of Iron Man is born, is one of the important early Marvel plots. The host himself will get 5 points of respect for participating in it, but since the host himself is not on the scene, he can only get 2 points. 2 system prompts sounded one after another. Lin Yu was excited at first. But then, a little speechless. Unexpectedly, I missed 3 plot points. System, what exactly is the rule for acquiring plot points? Lin Yu asked with some confusion. Only by knowing the rule, Lin Yu can analyze the pros and cons and choose the best solution. Hearing Lin Yu's question, the system quickly gave an answer. A blue panel appeared in Lin Yu's line of sight. On the panel, various rules obtained by plot points are listed in detail. The first time I saw a general supporting role, such as S.H.I.E.L.D. high-level agent Phil Coulson, the plot point is +1. The first time I saw the core protagonist, such as Natasha Romanoff, etc., plot point +2. Participate in some core plots, such as The Birth of Iron Man, plot point +5. Participate in general plots, such as Stark Industry Conference, plot points +2. In addition, the participation of the plot and whether the host is on the scene will also affect the acquisition of plot points. Quote. Seeing this, Lin Yu probably already understood how to upgrade his infinite mutation system. If you want to upgrade, you must be deeply involved in various important events in Marvel. And it is best to participate in person. Otherwise, the plot points gained will be greatly reduced. But now that Iron Man is already in place, the story of the Marvel world has basically begun to explode. A smile appeared on Lin Yu's face. Next, you will get more plot points, and the level of the system will be quickly improved. Brother, what are you laughing at? At this time, Wanda appeared suddenly and slapped Lin Yu on the shoulder severely. After the last embarrassment, Wanda seems to have recovered. After all, she was a blessing in disguise. Her body has undergone great changes. At the age of only 16, the body is already perfectly developed. Even compared to Natasha Romanoff. It's not too much. Nothing to laugh, just think you are a lot more beautiful today. Lin Yu said with a grin. In fact, he can also say nice things. It's just that I have lived with Wanda for too long before and I have never paid attention to these things. Definitely, Lin Yu thinks there is no need. Wanda is just his sister, not a girlfriend. Yes. Hearing Lin Yu's words, Wanda smiled excitedly. And, turning around in place, showing off his graceful figure. This turn made Lin Yu's eyes straight. Originally, Wanda looks better than Natasha Romanoff. Now, the figure has become lordotic and warped. From now on, how could I be able to bear it? Beast. Wanda is her own sister. Lin Yu gritted his teeth, resisting the impulse in his heart, and pulled back the hand that had just been inserted into the pocket of his clothes and was about to take out the perspective glasses. Do not. Cannot be like this. Wanda is still under adulthood. This is wrong. If you have to watch. If you really want to see. 2 years later. This is like Lin Yu's last stubbornness. Seeing Lin Yu's face seemed a bit unpleasant. Wanda hurriedly asked, "Brother, what's the matter with you?" "It's nothing." How dare Lin Yu say what he was thinking just now? But Wanda seemed to have thought of something. She hurriedly asked, "Brother, it's not the stock that has a problem. The dollar is everything to her. Yesterday, she put all her savings into the stock account. If something goes wrong, she will definitely go crazy." Hearing Wanda's words, Lin Yu hurriedly waved his hand and said, "No, don't worry, there will be no problems." At this point, Lin Yu dare not play any careful thoughts. Turn on the phone in a hurry. Click to open the stock trading software. The two studied again. At the moment, Lin Yu still holds all shares of Hanmer Industries in his account. Yesterday, Hanmer Industries had its daily limit. Wanda's more than $50,000 has also increased by 10% in one day. At the moment, the funds in Lin Yu's account still hold all shares of Hanmer Industries. But the trend of Hanmer Industries today does not seem to be very good. Lin Yu clicked on his phone a few times and opened the shares of Stark Industries. At the moment, the news that Tony had been rescued had spread. The shares of Stark Industries seemed to have rebounded. But, seeing this, Lin Yu's mouth suddenly showed a smile. Rebound. Only temporarily. It is estimated that it will fall into a trough soon. Because Lin Yu remembers it clearly. After Tony Stark was rescued, the first press conference held directly announced that Stark Industries would no longer make weapons. This is a disaster for a military enterprise that started by manufacturing weapons. Don't fall, blame it. Just when Lin Yu and Wanda were studying stocks with their heads down. In the grocery store, another visitor came. But these guests seemed to be regular customers. Wanda recognized the people in front of him at a glance. The one at the front has a red pigtail on his head, and the two at the back, one fat and one thin. Isn't it the three well-dressed but polite guys that day? But they were not the only three who came to the store today. Behind them, there were also a dozen other guys who were also a little bit irritable. Especially the one in the lead. The top of his head is bare, his muscles can be clearly seen through the coat, and the neck and half of his face are all tattooed. This appearance seems to be for fear that others will not know that he is a triad. As soon as he entered the door, this fierce fellow kicked the red-braided man's. He kicked him directly. "It's just that this shop didn't pay the protection fee, and it ruined you $50. The guy said viciously to the red-pigtailed man. Hearing this sentence, Lin Yu understood. Obviously these people are members of the gang. It's here to collect the protection fee. But, at this moment, the man with red pigtails who was kicked hesitated and said, "Brother Chang, although they didn't pay the protection fee, they really didn't ruin me. Those things are not expensive for $50. Until now, the man with red pigtails is still talking for Lin Yu and Wanda. It's amazing. Those things are expensive, Lin Yu and Wanda know best. Lin Yu couldn't help but glanced back at the beckoning cat that had been enshrined in the middle of the house, and couldn't help but secretly gave a thumbs up. This lucky cat is really a god. If you lied to other people's money, you can still make people speak good things for themselves under such a lot of pressure. It's a miracle." At this moment, the bald man called Brother Chang made his face even more ugly when he heard these words. He glanced at the other two people and asked fiercely, "Do you think it is expensive?" Upon hearing this question, the two obviously struggled. It seems that a difficult choice is being made between conscience and threat. But just then, Lin Yu suddenly caught sight of the lucky cat's eyes, which seemed to light up a little. Immediately afterwards, two guys, one fat and one thin, suddenly seemed to have figured it out. Standing up straight, righteously said, "Not expensive." They can't ignore their conscience. Even in the face of power, it won't work. It's not expensive to go to you. Brother Chang was completely angry. He pulled out a baseball bat from his waist and hit the two of them. Slap your head and cover your face. The means are cruel. Even the man with red pigtails was not spared. The scene was extremely bloody for a while. Almost the entire baseball bat was dyed red. It wasn't until the three of them were dying to lie on the ground that Brother Chang threw the baseball bat aside. This scene, Lin Yu and Wanda are almost dumbfounded. As soon as he walked in, he beat his little brother half to death without saying a word. What kind of routine is this? Are gangs collecting protection fees popular and selling miserable? Wanda was also a little confused. She also saw that these people didn't seem to be here to buy things. It's the local gangster. Wanda had been in contact with the gangster when she was in the orphanage. But the gangsters at that time looked very friendly. After all, many children from places like orphanages will join the gang. Therefore, the local gangs bully everyone, but they will not bully the orphanage. Even sometimes, some money and materials are donated to the orphanage. It's just for the children who go out in the orphanage in the future to have a greater chance to join their gang. So, at the moment Wanda saw the gang members and was not afraid. On the contrary, there is a touch of intimacy. At this moment, after educating his three little brothers, Brother Chang moved forward slowly. There was a trace of hideousness on his face. It seems that this appearance can make him look a little more terrifying. At this moment, Lin Yu suddenly touched Wanda's arm and said, "Sister, ask them to buy something." Wanda was taken aback. This group of people is obviously not here to buy things. But, Wanda still trusts Lin Yu 100%. Do whatever your brother is called. Wanda straightened her chest, stood in front, and said, "You guys, what are you going to buy?" The whole grocery store suddenly fell into the audible silence of needles. Shopping. These two brothers and sisters are crazy. Don't they see, are we here for trouble? Haha, after receiving the protection fee, can't we get it for free? What to buy? The gang members standing at the door all laughed. Especially the strong brother, who had already walked to the bar, showed an extremely cruel expression on his face. Little girl, I have never spent money to buy what my strong brother wants. Little girl, I have never spent money to buy what my strong brother wants. Brother Bald Chang seems to be very proud of his behavior. It seems that this is a very glorious thing. But, just when the words came down, suddenly the system prompt sounded in Lin Yu's mind. Ding, your lucky cat felt a strong sense of crisis when he heard the words of Brother Chang. If everyone buys things without spending money, how should the lucky cat reflect their value? So the lucky cat decided, once again, to improve your wealth, everyone who enters the grocery store must leave money. Hearing this voice, Lin Yu was overjoyed again. The strongest mutant item around him has been upgraded again. At this moment, Lin Yu quietly glanced at the lucky cat next to him. It is still the same as before, beckoning tirelessly. The smile on the cat's face remained unchanged. But the small print on the top of its head is different from before. Originally just a level 1 mutant lucky cat, at the moment has become a second order. Name: Lucky Cat. Variation direction: Lucky function. Variation level: second order. Variation status: the lucky cat felt the sense of crisis and cancelled the trigger language. In addition to the owner of the grocery store, it is mandatory for anyone who enters the grocery store to buy some goods and must pay. Quote. See this description. Lin Yu suddenly became happy. The second order mutant lucky cat is more powerful than before. At this time, I am afraid that elite agents such as Natasha Romanoff and Phil Coulson have come, and they have to spend some money before they can leave, right? Under certain circumstances, the second order lucky cat is even stronger than Erha. Really, it's worthy of being the strongest mutant item under his hand. Lin Yu's heart became more and more excited. At this moment, Lin Yu smiled and looked at the bald strong brother, and asked, "Are you really not going to buy something?" Lin Yu's words stunned the other party. Not only Brother Chang, but all the gang members behind him were taken aback. It seems that there is a strange thought occupying their thoughts. Especially the strong brother at the forefront. He looked at the goods on the surrounding shelves, it was like a dog saw a bone. In his heart, he also began to think, I went to this grocery store all the way, isn't it because it is good and cheap? Those three little brothers had already told themselves very clearly. The things sold here are all fine products. And the price is not expensive. Looking at it now, they are all good things. What about hesitation? Brother Chang turned his head and hurriedly recruited Roar's own brothers, and said, "Don't froze, buy whatever you want." A group of brawny men, Roar, all rushed to the shelf and selected them carefully. Even the dying 3 people who had been beaten by the bald strong brother lying on the ground struggled to crawl to the next shelf. On the ground, 3 scarlet bloodstains were dragged out. This scene, not only was Wanda dumbfounded, even Lin Yu, who knows the inside story, can't stand it. This meow is crazy. The red hair on the ground, the bones on the calf are all exposed. He couldn't stop his desire to shop. Too crazy. The second-order mutant Lucky Cat is simply a devil. But a strange smile suddenly appeared at the corner of Lin Yu's mouth. "I like this Lucky Cat," Lin Yu secretly said in his heart. At the moment, Wanda, who was standing beside Lin Yu, hid behind Lin Yu in fear. She is not afraid of those fierce gang members. Rather, he was afraid of the 3 guys on the ground who had almost become blood people. Their appearance is really miserable. "Brother, does my mouth have magical powers? How come every time I ask people if they can buy something, no one has refused it?" Wanda had already discovered some weird things. But she didn't think about the Lucky Cat. Rather, he felt that there was some mutation in his body. Some places suddenly became bigger, some places suddenly became thinner, and even the mouth became incredible. Lin Yu petted Wanda's hair and said with a smile, "Yes, I also think your mouth is magical. However, I feel that let's help the 3 customers first, don't let them run around, otherwise we will have to work hard to clean." Lin Yu finally couldn't bear to let the 3 miserable guys continue crawling on the ground. Lin Yu took Wanda and walked slowly in front of the 3 of them. He lowered his head, bent down, and asked softly, "3, what do you want to buy? I will help you get it. Although I can't bear it. But when people want to buy something, Lin Yu can't stop it cruelly. As a merchant, it is really cruel to stop a customer from buying goods. I have to say that Lin Yu's consciousness is still very high. For these 3 miserable guys, Lin Yu took his little sister and the 2 went into battle. In order to enable the disabled to buy their favorite products, the 2 of them have to work hard to shuttle between the shelves. This scene touched the 3 people on the ground. If it weren't for their own bodies now, they even wanted to give Lin Yu a pennant. Right on the pennant, "Conscientious businessmen, young people are not deceived." Except for Lin Yu and Wanda who are helping the 3 guys on the ground to choose goods, no one else is idle. From time to time, they picked up the goods on the shelf and looked carefully. "Sometimes I consult with my companions. It feels like visiting the antique market. In the grocery store, the atmosphere is harmonious for a while, and it is full of joy." In the whole room, there seemed to be only the Lucky Cat that was placed at the door, with 2 faint flashes of red light in his eyes, which was a little weird. But such a clear red light, but no gang member noticed it. Lin Yu and Wanda saw it. But both of them were busy helping the 3 people choose products, and they didn't have the time and energy to care about it. Just then, outside the door, 2 figures suddenly appeared. 1 man and 1 woman. The man is wearing a black suit and sunglasses on his face. The woman wore a black tights, highlighting her graceful figure. Behind them was a husky pet dog. These 2 people, who have completed the task, came to return the dog's shield high-level agents, Natasha Romanoff and Phil Coulson. Once in the door, the 2 were shocked. On the ground in front of me. 3 bright red blood dragged on the ground for a long time. At the end of the 3 blood, there are 3 men who seem to have no good place all over. Of the 3 of them, some of their arms were broken, and some of their heads were full of blood. The most serious one, the leg bones are already exposed. But, looking at the expressions of the 3 people, they didn't seem to feel any pain at all. There are happy smiles on their faces. In front of each of them, there are several commodities. The eyes of the 3 of them were on the ordinary commodities that were gathered in front of them. Seem, those commodities, what are the delicacies of mountains and seas? Make them salivate. In addition to these 3 people, the small grocery store was also crowded with at least a dozen men of stout figure. Judging from their appearance, they look like gangsters. But these guys are actually choosing the goods on the shelves comfortably. Just like a good baby. The scene is extremely peaceful. But this picture is completely different in the eyes of Natasha Romanoff and Phil Coulson. Those brawny men who are shopping are like marionettes, and the smiles on their faces are almost the same. The piece of fart. It's just weird. Natasha Romanoff and Phil Coulson suddenly felt that they were a little bad. Fortunately, this is broad daylight. If it was at night, even with the knowledge of the two, it would definitely be scared to death. Although both of them are high-level agents, dealing with ordinary gangs is simply cutting melons and vegetables. But, faced with such a weird situation, they were completely helpless. At this moment, Erha behind the two of them didn't care about this picture at all. He shook his tail vigorously and ran to Lin Yu behind the shelf. Under the influence of the system, Erha is not only afraid of Lin Yu, but also has a strong sense of dependence on Lin Yu. It didn't see it for a day, and it felt like it missed it. In 3 or 2 steps, he ran to Lin Yu's feet and rubbed Lin Yu's calf. But, Lin Yu obviously didn't think twice. He kicked Erha's and mumbled, "Go away, don't bother me to choose products for the guests." After all, making money is the most important thing. Erha was taken aback and didn't care at all. He turned his head and ran to Wanda's side again, acting like a baby. However, compared to Lin Yu, Wanda is more fascinated by making money. He didn't even look at Erha. Erha slapped and rolled on the ground for a few seconds before he discovered the problem. Without being discouraged, it ran to the table where the lucky cat was placed in 3 or 2 steps. With the help of Lin Yu's gaming chair, he climbed to the side of the lucky cat. A dog and a cat, playing happily. Both masters are busy at work. In the whole room, only Lucky Cat is willing to interact with Erha. Looking at the beckoning cat's little hand that kept waving, Erha sat down beside the beckoning cat. At this moment, Lin Yu finally seemed to react back. Hastily walked out from behind the shelf. Sure enough, 2 old friends came. A smile immediately appeared on Lin Yu's face. He patted the dust on his hands lightly, then took out his glasses from his jacket pocket and put them on. Then, he stretched out his hand to Natasha Romanoff. "Congratulations, with my great help, I successfully completed the task," Lin Yu said to Natasha Romanoff without squinting his eyes. Hearing Lin Yu's words, Natasha Romanoff's face suddenly showed a trace of embarrassment. Indeed, the biggest contribution of this mission is Erha. Lin Yu can be considered a great help. But, do I need to take the initiative to speak out? Natasha Romanoff felt embarrassed for Lin Yu. But, there was no trace of embarrassment on Lin Yu's face. On the contrary, there seemed to be a weird smile on his face. It looks a bit squinted. The eyes behind those glasses seem to have been staring at his chest. Why doesn't he look at his face when he wants to shake hands? Natasha Romanoff was a little disgusted. However, reach out and don't hit the smiley person. Besides, this time Lin Yu really helped a lot. She had to stretch out her hand, ready to hold Lin Yu gently. But, just then, wait, a figure suddenly jumped out from behind Lin Yu and jumped directly between Lin Yu and Natasha Romanoff. Wanda was full of anger, facing his old brother, with his back to Natasha Romanoff, preventing the two of them from shaking hands. Her eyes were full of vigilance. That woman looked like a little fairy. Letting her chat with her old brother is already her greatest tolerance, physical contact is not enough. Seeing Wanda suddenly come out to stop, Lin Yu's face is black. He hurriedly took off his glasses, and said angrily, "What do you want to do? It won't work." Faced with the anger of the older brother, Wanda didn't mind at all. She is determined, and it is absolutely impossible for the two to have physical contact. Wanda and Lin Yu looked at each other and were at a stalemate. But, less than 10 seconds. In the end, Lin Yu was defeated. Withdraw his hand angrily. Turned around. It seemed that the figure grew older in an instant. "Hey, please recruit roar these 2 guests, I'm tired," Lin Yu said lightly. It seems a bit tired. The 18-year-old body seemed to have endured endless vicissitudes. Lin Yu held the handrails of the stairs and walked slowly towards the 2nd floor. At this moment, Wanda's voice suddenly came from behind again. "Then I will hire a guest from Roar, go and clean the toilet." Lin Yu, who was on the stairs, suddenly staggered. Almost fell off the stairs. There was no tears in his heart. "I wanted to take the opportunity to lie in bed for a break, but I didn't realize it," but Wanda saw his purpose. Standing in the middle of the stairs, Lin Yu suddenly speeded up. He rushed to the 2nd floor in an instant. Disappeared in the eyes of everyone. On the first floor, Natasha Romanoff and Phil Coulson both watched all this blankly. An extremely strong sense of powerlessness rose in his heart. This guy, why not act in a movie? Just now, they even felt that Lin Yu was really much older. Unexpectedly, it turned out to be acting. It's so funny, no wonder the two of them were completely led by his nose the first time they came. It turned out to be a dramatist. At this time, Wanda finally turned around and faced Natasha Romanoff. Her eyes are full of vigilance. Wanda squinted his eyes and said in his heart, "This woman, the person who came, is not kind, she must defend her sovereignty." As a spy for many years, Natasha Romanoff naturally saw the hostility in Wanda's eyes. Combine those farce between Lin Yu brothers and sisters. Natasha Romanoff understood the cause and effect the first time. Original. Was he regarded as a love rival by Wanda? A slight smile appeared on Natasha Romanoff's face. This is easy. It's okay to comfort a little sister with one's own emotional intelligence. Little sister, your brother can't be interesting to me, I'm very old. Natasha Romanoff said half-jokingly, seemingly not minding his age. Wanda suddenly curled his lips and said coldly, "In this society, is it still rare for old cows to eat tender grass?" Natasha Romanoff was taken aback for a moment, and continued without changing her face, "Don't worry, I don't have any thoughts about your brother. That doesn't mean that my brother has no idea about you." Natasha Romanoff was already a little speechless. She looked at Wanda's figure, and then seemed to have made a lot of determination, and said, "I am not as beautiful as you, and your brother will not think of me. But you wear tights every time you come." Natasha Romanoff's mentality is about to collapse, frowning and saying, "Well, I won't come to you again from now on. If there is anything in the future, let Phil Coulson come over." Natasha Romanoff was completely useless. "Is this your trick called retreat for advancement?" Wanda's face remained cold. "I'm a little hot, I want to buy a fan," Natasha Romanoff said. She felt that her mentality was about to explode. Hearing that Natasha Romanoff had to go shopping, Wanda's face improved. And Phil Coulson, who has not spoken, finally expressed his opinion at this time. "Well, I still lack a comb, I just bought it from you." For a time, the whole grocery store became happy again. In Wanda's eyes, Natasha Romanoff also smoothly changed from a competitor to a customer. A smile appeared on her face again. "This time, we must slaughter these two guys. Wanda has decided that no matter what they buy, they will increase the price by 100 times. The old man always said that he was black, so he was black to show him." There was a long line in front of the counter in the grocery store. There is an endless stream of people who check out. Even Phil Coulson and Natasha Romanoff had to be at the bottom of the line. As for Lin Yu, he still hasn't been able to relax. He was called by Wanda to help the 3 customers on the ground check out. The 3 were moved by Lin Yu's warm service. Bare his teeth and said that he will definitely visit again in the future. After half an hour, the checkout is finally over. In the grocery store, only Phil Coulson and Natasha Romanoff were left. Wanda stood behind the bar with a happy smile on his face. This wave of guests was really generous. There are not many products purchased, but they have brought thousands of dollars in income to the small shop. It can be called the black shop in the black shop. Even Natasha Romanoff and Phil Coulson didn't know whether it was because of the influence of the lucky cat or the two were willing to pay a lot of money before they took away a fan and a comb. At this moment, wearing the most beloved glasses, Lin Yu, who was a little gentle, finally stood safely in front of Natasha Romanoff. Wanda, who has just received thousands of dollars in income, is counting money at this time, but has no time to care about Lin Yu and Natasha Romanoff. Definitely, Lin Yu still did not reach out his hand. It's good to talk in person, and forget about physical contact. After all, Wanda is nearby. When she saw it, she would cry, make trouble, and beat people again. "Erha didn't mess with you, right?" Lin Yu said with a smile. Natasha Romanoff smiled slightly and said, "No, thank you Erha, otherwise we won't find Tony's position so quickly." Natasha Romanoff finally breathed a sigh of relief. This young man named Lin Yu finally spoke normally. Moreover, after putting on the glasses, he looks more bookish. It seems like a person has changed. Attitude has also improved a lot. "Well, that's good, I don't know how Mr. Tony Stark is physically and whether he is injured. Lin Yu seemed a little worried. Natasha Romanoff said with a smile, there should be no big problem, he is already on his way back, and he is expected to be there later. Tony's speed was a little slower due to physical reasons. After finding Tony, Natasha Romanoff and Phil Coulson came to Lin Yu's place quickly in order to send Erha away as soon as possible. At this moment, Lin Yu suddenly lowered his head and looked down. He was hesitant to speak, and seemed a little embarrassed to speak. Natasha Romanoff seemed to see that Lin Yu had something to say, and hurriedly said, "It's okay, you helped us so much. If there is anything you can tell me directly, if I can help, I will definitely help." Hearing Natasha Romanoff's words, Lin Yu finally raised his head again. But he still didn't look into Natasha Romanoff's eyes. But to look at, there is nothing too big, that is, I have always admired Mr. Tony Stark. I heard that Stark Industries is going to hold a press conference. I want to see it in person, Lin Yu said in a low voice. Hearing only this request, Natasha Romanoff also breathed a sigh of relief. Just now, when she said that, she regretted a bit. In case Lin Yu makes some strange requests, it's really not easy to step down. It's good now, just go to the press conference of Stark Industries, it's easy. Natasha Romanoff smiled slightly and said, this is easy to handle. I'll ask someone to send you an invitation letter when I turn around. Really, this kind of thing is quite simple for S.H.I.E.L.D. Hearing Natasha Romanoff's words, Lin Yu smiled and stretched out his hand to grab Natasha Romanoff's little hand, and thanked excitedly, it's really great, thank you so much, I can finally see my idol. Elder brother, let me go. At this moment, a roar suddenly interrupted Lin Yu's thoughts. Wanda jumped and turned over directly from the bar. Her body is flexible like a monkey. Lin Yu was so scared that he hurriedly let go and fled. And Wanda, standing in front of Natasha Romanoff again, puffed up his chest, and said, after shopping, you can go now. Lin Yu came on the stairs, but suddenly the system reminder sounded in his mind. Ding, your bar has felt a great threat, and learned to automatically repair the function. When it is damaged, it will automatically return to its original appearance. Lin Yu stood in the middle of the stairs for a moment. He turned his head and looked at the bar below. How could the bar be threatened? Where is it hurt? After taking a closer look, Lin Yu was shocked. At the moment, on the tabletop of the bar, a palm print is slowly recovering. The palm print has a little purple on it. The color is exactly the same as when Wanda releases Scarlet Witch ability in the movie. At the moment, in the grocery store, not only Lin Yu found the anomaly. Even Natasha Romanoff and Phil Coulson felt a little weird. Although Wanda usually does roar roar, she actually looks like a weak girl. But her skill just now was too agile. With a light support with one hand, he jumped out from behind the bar. Clean and neat. Even high-level agents such as Natasha Romanoff and Phil Coulson can't help but admire them. If you switch to two people, you can naturally make such moves. But Natasha Romanoff is fine. Phil Coulson may not be able to do so easily. And Wanda's previous performance was not like this. Both of them turned their heads at the same time and looked at the bar. On the bar, a handprint that was slowly disappearing appeared in the sight of the two. Compared to Lin Yu, they were even more surprised. The little girl in front of me is obviously not the kind of weak little girl they imagined. Because even Natasha Romanoff would never make a handprint on that bar so easily. Although the bar is made of wood. Moreover, the moment Wanda jumped out just now, she definitely didn't use much effort. Oh my, what monsters are in this grocery store? An elder brother of a dramatist, a sister of a strange force, a husky who turns into a monster at any time, and a customer who wants to buy something while dragging a broken leg. Natasha Romanoff and Phil Coulson were completely blinded. They looked at the merchandise in their hands, and they were shocked for a while. There is definitely a problem with this shop. Except for the two of them who really want to buy things, those other customers seem to be controlled. Too frightening. Fortunately, I have a strong willpower. Fortunately, the things I buy are cheap and good quality products. Let's say goodbye first. Phil Coulson felt a little unbearable for the first time, and said weakly. Natasha Romanoff did not have the calmness of the past. The two quietly turned around and ran away. In a few seconds, it disappeared in the grocery store. Lin Yu pushed his glasses and watched Natasha Romanoff leave. When Natasha Romanoff's figure disappeared from the field of vision, Lin Yu seemed to take off his eyes a little bit reluctantly. Nowadays, what a wonderful day. Lin Yu smiled and felt comfortable. Sure enough, the Natasha Romanoff scene in the movie is not as intimate as the one seen in reality. Come down and clean, my brother. At this time, Wanda was still pinching her waist, looking at Lin Yu maliciously. Lin Yu's squint look just now was completely seen by her. Seeing the little girl's appearance, Lin Yu suddenly felt a little big head. Must find something to mix up the matter just now. Sister, have you noticed that there seems to be something wrong with our grocery store? Lin Yu deliberately lowered his voice and said. Speaking of this question, Wanda immediately came to his mind. Since she was a child, she has liked the weird things. And she has long discovered that there is a problem with this grocery store. Brother, I found out a long time ago. Lin Yu nodded slightly, and while walking down the stairs, he agreed, it seems that our grocery store is alive. Hearing Lin Yu's words, Wanda's eyes suddenly lit up. This is more exciting than she thought. On the other side, Lin Yu picked up a brand new hammer on the shelf and walked to the bar, and said, Sister, look, let me knock on this bar. Boom! Lin Yu hit a big hole directly on the bar with a hammer. Immediately afterwards, what made Wanda extremely excited happened. The big hole knocked out by the hammer is slowly healing. See this scene. Wanda was so excited. Unexpectedly, such a weird thing happened around me. Wanda hurriedly took the hammer from Lin Yu's hand and knocked on the bar excitedly. Bang, 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 bang. The big holes are slowly healing. It's like the bar has Wolverine's ability. Bang, bang, bang. Wanda also knocked on the wooden floor excitedly. 3 big holes also appeared on the floor. Then, there was no movement at all. Brother, why didn't the floor recover by itself? Wanda asked suspiciously. Lin Yu was taken aback. It should be slower to react. Lin Yu frowned and said. Immediately afterwards, Lin Yu snatched the hammer from Wanda's hand and knocked it hard on the floor. Bang, bang, bang. While knocking, he muttered, Hurry up and restore me as before, or I will knock you all into scum. Ding, your floor is aware of the master's anger, and a trace of anxiety flashes in your heart. Awakening has a self-repair function with automatic cleaning ability. Brother, the floor is restored. Wanda pointed to the pits Lin Yu had knocked in surprise, and said excitedly. Not only that, even the blood on the ground slowly disappeared, as if absorbed by the floor. It didn't take long. A SHIELD agent sent Lin Yu an invitation letter. The invitation letter is very simple, with a few big characters written on it. Stark Industry Press Conference Invitation Letter. It also bears the official seal of Stark Industries. This kind of invitation letter is estimated to be easy to obtain, because there is not even the name of the invitee. Obviously, anyone who has a relationship or the media can participate. But Lin Yu doesn't matter, as long as you can get in. Lin Yu wanted to participate in this press conference, not because he was really a fan of Tony Stark. It's because there is a plot point to get it. Now, the power of the system has begun to show its signs. Although only Tier 2 is available, Lin Yu already feels a little omnipotent. If you advance to a higher level, it's not bad. Open the system panel, Lin Yu said softly. Immediately afterwards, a blue light curtain appeared in Lin Yu's line of sight. Host, Lin Yu. System level. Level 2, 10 plot points are required to upgrade to level 3. Plot point. 4 points remaining. See the core protagonist of Marvel World. Plot point +2. See the core supporting role. Plot point +1. Participate in core events. Increase plot points according to the degree of participation. Probability of level 1 mutants, 80%. Probability of second order variants, 20%. Probability of third order variants, 1% triggered in extreme cases. Probability of fourth order variants, 0%. Looking at the upgrade data of the system again, a smile appeared on Lin Yu's face. This press conference, although not the main plot. But Lin Yu must go, because Lin Yu clearly remembers that there will be many important supporting actors participating in this conference. For example, the big villain in Iron Man 1, Obadiah Stane. Iron Man's girlfriend, Miss Potts. There is even a good friend of Iron Man, Colonel James Rhodes. In this way, there should be 3 main supporting roles alone. Coupled with the plot points of the press conference and the plot points of the protagonist, Tony, if you go around this circle, you will have no problem getting 6 plot points. Lin Yu became more excited as he thought about it. 6 plot points are enough to advance your system to level 3. Wanda, I'll go out. Lin Yu said casually. I want to go too. There was a suspicious expression in Wanda's eyes. Brother, isn't he going out on a date with that woman? Lin Yu was taken aback, but then he thought of a way. You go too. What should customers do in the store? No more money, Lin Yu said calmly. Speaking of making money, Wanda's expression immediately changed. In the past 2 days, the store's income is indeed good. Almost can catch up with the previous half of the month's income. And the goods in the store are almost sold out. Still need to buy some goods. Well, then you can go out by yourself, but you can't secretly meet that woman, Wanda said reluctantly. Compared to Lin Yu, making money is a little more important. Lin Yu hurriedly agreed. Although I had some opinions on this in my heart, I verbally accepted it in a hurry. Man's mouth, deceitful ghost. This is vividly demonstrated in Lin Yu. Picking up the car key on the bar, Lin Yu quickly left the grocery store as if fleeing. In the garage, Lin Yu gently turned the key, and the car's engine burst out with an overwhelming roar. Lin Yu's car was left by his dead parents in Lin Yu's life. The age of the car is even older than Lin Yu's. They were in a car accident when they were driving this car. And most of the cars crashed and scrapped. Lin Yu spent a lot of effort and several $100s to fix it. But because it was really long, and the car accident was really serious. Under normal circumstances, Lin Yu is too lazy to open. But today is different, the press conference is about to begin. Lin Yu didn't want to wait for that unreliable bus. Therefore, I can only drive by myself. Lin Yu kicked the accelerator and the 2 classic cars rushed out of the garage. Ding, your classic car seems to feel the anxiety in the owner's heart, and it automatically upgraded and evolved into a brand new Chevrolet Camaro. A ray of light flashed, and everything in front of Lin Yu's eyes changed. Gently stroking the soft steering wheel, Lin Yu showed extremely excited eyes in his eyes. Which man doesn't like speed and passion yet? With a sudden step on the accelerator, the bright yellow Camaro is like a beast, and the speed soars instantly. Cool, Lin Yu roared, like a rabbit that had just escaped from the control of the devil's head, and was completely happy. Chapter 31. Just when Lin Yu went to the Stark Industry press conference. SHIELD headquarters, Natasha Romanoff and Phil Coulson are reporting this action to director Nick Fury. Natasha Romanoff is still the same, standing quietly behind Phil Coulson. Put the honest man Phil Coulson to the forefront. In fact, Natasha Romanoff was originally very positive. But since she came into contact with Lin Yu's mission, she has become a little taciturn. It is Lin Yu who is really strange. Compared with all the men she had met before, it was even stranger. He should not be described as strange. It should be weird. Natasha Romanoff had never seen such a weird person. By his side, there are extremely scary pets. His sister has a powerful force hidden in her body. His grocery store is filled with a weird atmosphere. And he himself seemed to control everything. In front of Lin Yu, Natasha Romanoff even felt that he was naked and completely seen through. It's like, no clothes. Natasha Romanoff is puzzled. What is the reason for this feeling? That man is less than 18 years old. He is not old, but he seems to be able to see himself completely and clearly. Although Phil Coulson was also very reluctant, he sorted out his thoughts and began to report to Chief Nick Fury. His husky pet dog can turn into a terrifying 3-headed monster. That monster is extremely powerful. Not only is it strong, but its defense is also fully capable of resisting ordinary bullets. As for the stronger armor-piercing bullets, I don't know. In addition to its strong strength and defense, it also has terrifying high temperatures around it. The flames that burn on it are definitely not ordinary flames. Definitely, it also has an extremely sensitive nose. You can smell Tony Stark hundreds of kilometers away. In addition to that pet, Lin Yu's sister seems to have some strange things, as if she is very powerful and can easily leave handprints on the wooden bar counter. Actually, it was his grocery store that scared me the most. In that shop, there is a weird atmosphere everywhere, even in broad daylight I feel the hairs rising. Listening to Phil Coulson's report, Nick Fury frowned deeper and deeper. He had heard it, and Phil Coulson seemed to have been scared by the young man named Lin Yu. The content of these reports all have a strong subjective element. It is very different from the previous report by Phil Coulson. The two have worked together for more than 10 years as an old partner, Nick Fury can see clearly. Don't talk about the issue of strength yet, talk about your other opinions. Nick Fury interrupted Phil Coulson's report and asked. This question is actually guiding Phil Coulson. Nick Fury wants to bring Phil Coulson out of these horrified emotions. Since his strength is so strong, Phil Coulson is a little scared. Let alone the question of strength, it would be fine. Hearing Nick Fury's words, Phil Coulson lowered his head and thought. Well, if you don't talk about strength, I think the most important thing is. Phil Coulson's eyes lit up, as if thinking of something. The most important thing should be the things sold in that grocery store. Phil Coulson seemed to think of a very important question. Nick Fury also brightened his eyes and asked, what's wrong with the selling? Is there any contraband? At this moment, keeping his head down, Natasha Romanoff, who was listening quietly behind him, also suddenly raised his head. She seems to have noticed some problems too. At this moment, Phil Coulson finally said slowly, no, there are no prohibited items, but the grocery store's goods are all high-quality goods, and they are too good and cheap. While talking, Phil Coulson also took out a comb from his pocket. That is a wooden comb, the workmanship, not bad. Nick Fury was dumbfounded. Good quality and cheap. Or all boutiques. How do you feel that this kind of analysis was made by a customer? You bought a comb in his shop? Nick Fury asked suspiciously. Phil Coulson nodded hurriedly and said decisively, yes, if I have time, I will go shopping there. Nick Fury is completely speechless. As the director of S.H.I.E.L.D., he has seen many weird phenomena. But, today is an eye-opener. One of his most loyal and ability's strongest subordinates, Phil Coulson, turned out to be like this. Natasha Romanoff, Phil Coulson, what happened? What happened? Nick Fury asked coldly. He really couldn't understand it. At this moment, Natasha Romanoff walked forward 2 steps solemnly. Came to Phil Coulson's side. She frowned, thought for a moment, and then said, Phil Coulson is right. The goods in that store are really good and cheap. While talking, Natasha Romanoff drew a folding fan from her waist and shook it gently. The other side, Lin Yu drove his brand new Camaro, racing wildly all the way. Finally arrived at the scene before the start of the Stark Industry press conference. At the moment, Tony Stark has come to the press conference. His little girlfriend Miss Potts, good friend Colonel Road, and the villain Obadiah are all on the list. As soon as Lin Yu walked in the door, he saw these 4 people. Tony Stark was standing in the center of the front of the press conference, gorging himself with a burger in his hand. Aside, Potts and Rod both smiled, very happy that Tony was able to return safely. Obadiah also had a smile on his face. Only, this smile looks a little hypocritical in front of someone like Lin Yu who knows the plot of the later stage. What a hypocrite! Lin Yu couldn't help but sigh secretly. Compared to hypocrites, Lin Yu feels that real villains are more likable. For example, like myself. Ding! Congratulations to the host for participating in the Stark Industry press conference and getting 2 plot points. Ding! Congratulations to the host for meeting the core protagonist of Marvel, Iron Man Tony Stark, and earning 2 plot points. Ding! Congratulations to the host for meeting Marvel's core supporting character Colonel Rod, and earning 1 plot point. Ding! Congratulations to the host for meeting Marvel's core supporting role, Tony's girlfriend Potts, for getting 1 plot point. Ding! Congratulations to the host for seeing the core supporting villain of Marvel, Obadiah, and earning 1 plot point. As soon as Lin Yu entered the arena, the system prompts in his mind rang frantically. There are several in a row, all of which are hints for plot points. Lin Yu was overjoyed. Sure enough, it was different from what I had guessed. Only when you go out, participate in the plot, and see these guys with your own eyes can your plot points be harvested. At this time, the system prompt sounded again. Ding! Congratulations to the host for meeting the system upgrade conditions, the system is being upgraded. The system upgrade is complete, please check it by the host. Lin Yu was overjoyed. hastily opened the system panel. A blue light curtain appeared in Lin Yu's sight again. Host: Lin Yu. System level: Level 3. 20 plot points are required to upgrade to Level 4. After upgrading to Level 4, new functions will be opened. The system will not force items belonging to the host to mutate, as long as any objects around the host have mutated possibility. Plot point: 1 point remaining. Probability of Level 1 mutants: 50%. Probability of second-order variants: 40%. Probability of third-order variants: 10%. Probability of fourth-order variants: 1%. Probability of fifth-order variants: 0%. Seeing this system panel, Lin Yu became more excited. In terms of the probability of occurrence of variants, it is not much different from what I expected. But there is one thing Lin Yu did not expect. If the system can be promoted to Level 4, the range of variation will extend to all the items around. Even things that are not yours will do. That's really strong. In Lin Yu's mind, he had already begun to fantasize. If you run into the bank and the bank mutates and becomes your own, wouldn't it be ascendant by yourself? The system has just been upgraded to Level 3. Lin Yu has already begun to look forward to the arrival of the Level 4 system. Only, the plot points required for the system to be promoted to Level 4 are doubled as compared to that of promotion to Level 3. Only 20 plot points can be promoted. I'm afraid, we have to study how to get plot points next. At this moment, just when Lin Yu was thinking wildly, the press conference has already begun. At the moment, standing in front of the microphone, Tony Stark said solemnly, "I announce that starting today, the weapons department of Stark Industries will be closed." As soon as this sentence came out, the entire press conference was completely messed up. Especially Obadiah Stane, his face turned blue. He had always watched Tony Stark not pleasing to his eyes. And now, Tony's words will make Stark Industries suffer huge amounts of losses. After all, Tony is nominally the largest shareholder of Stark Industries. Hateful. Although Obadiah Stane seemed to be bleeding in his heart, he still managed to hold back his laughter and came to the stage. At the moment, Tony Stark has slowly exited the field with the support of the bodyguard. The reporters on the field were not in the mood to listen to Obadiah Stane's unnutritious words. All the reporters, all in watching Tony's back. The cameras were also aimed at Tony. Reporters were excited bad. This is a big news. Definitely. The most exciting one is probably Lin Yu. Lin Yu's eyes lit up when he looked at his mobile phone that would be able to trade stocks on his own. Otherwise, he added himself to the fire, let Stark Industries shares fall again violently number. At this moment, Lin Yu suddenly grabbed the microphone of a reporter next to him. Ding, your microphone noticed the noise around you and decided to raise your own volume to dominate the entire venue. Lin Yu felt even more happy. What do you want? Clearing his throat, Lin Yu brought the microphone to his mouth. Mr. Obadiah Stane, Tony is the boss of Stark Industries. You have to refute the boss's decision just after speaking. Are you planning to usurp the throne? Lin Yu's voice passed through the strengthening of the mutant microphone and instantly reached everyone's ears. Even if the scene is very noisy, there are a lot of messy noises. Nor did it have any impact on Lin Yu's words. Everyone felt that this sentence was as clear as if they were speaking in their own ears. The entire venue suddenly became crazy. Countless reporters began to look for the person who said this. That's awesome. This person is a real sensible person. When everyone was paying attention to Tony Stark's movements, he unexpectedly discovered a bigger explosion. Indeed, Tony Stark is the big boss of Stark Industries. Is the largest shareholder of Stark Industries. But this Obadiah Stane did not listen to the boss. Does he have any strange ideas? Following Lin Yu's words, the reporters thought for a while, as if they had discovered a new world. Obadiah Stane is from Tony's father's generation. He has been conscientious in Stark Industry for so long, but he has always been crushed by the powerful Tony. So, will he have grievances? Nonsense. There must be grievances. Coupled with Tony being so irresponsible, his grievances must be even greater. Oh my goodness. Could it be? He already had a grudge against Tony. Will Tony's disappearance involve him? Relying on the reporter's unique keen sense of smell, they seem to have discovered a bigger news. In the audience, the reporters all looked at Obadiah Stane. Raising the microphone, one after another began to ask questions. Mr. Obadiahston, what do you think? Why refute Tony's words? Mr. Obadiahston, are you dissatisfied with Tony Stark's constant pressure on your head? Mr. Obadiah, did you participate in the kidnapping of Tony before? Hearing these Obadiahstams, my lungs were blown up. Where is this special meow? Where did I say that I would usurp the throne? Although, there is indeed such an idea. However, it is not good to be guessed. In the face of aggressive reporters, Obadiahston was completely helpless. As an old guy who has been in society for so many years, he knows exactly how to deal with these reporters. In this situation, it is not suitable for me to say more. The more you say, the easier it is to fail. The best way is to arrange for the reporters to stuff some US dollars afterwards. The omnipotent dollar can solve everything. And Obadiahston does not hate these reporters, they are just like this. I have used them many times to publish remarks that are beneficial to me. What Obadiahston really hates is the first person to say that. But, at the moment, Lin Yu has quietly left the scene. Hidden merit and fame. But, when Lin Yu said that sentence, Obadiahston noticed the Asian face of Lin Yu. While leaving quietly under the protection of his bodyguards, Obadiahston arranged, immediately contact the reporters present individually and give them $50,000 each and let them all shut up. Also, find me the identity of the Asian journalist who spoke the first sentence, and tell me as soon as you find it. Obadiahston apparently regarded Lin Yu as a reporter. Under Obadiahston's orders, several of his core men acted immediately. And at the moment, Lin Yu has once again sat in his camirally. Feel comfortable. Lin Yu didn't rush to drive, but leisurely turned on his phone, searching for things about this press conference. Even if Obadiahston handles it in time, there will definitely be reporters who will send out today's affairs as quickly as possible. This group of free reporters has no bottom line. They will send out the article first, earn traffic, and then delete the article after receiving the US dollar. Thus, fame and fortune. As for the consequences of their news release, they will not care. At most, it is just to remind friends around you, hurry up and throw away the Stark Industrial stocks in your hands. Just a few minutes. News about this press conference appeared on the internet. Obviously, some reporters couldn't wait to use their mobile phones to release news before they even showed up. The news title is very nice. Stark Industries has fallen into civil strife. Obadiahston, the second largest shareholder, is suspected of kidnapping Tony Stark in order to gain power. The word, suspect, is perfect. It not only makes everyone want to be wrong, but also puts aside the responsibility of perfect beauty. At the same time, when such news appeared one after another, there was an immediate reaction in the stock market. The stock of Stark Industries has reached its limit again. Correspondingly, Hanmer Industries is favored by more people. After all, in the whole of the United States, these two are the two largest military enterprises and old competitors. Just a few minutes after Stark Industries dropped its limit, Hanmer Industries stock rose to its daily limit. Looking at the amount of stocks on the mobile phone, Lin Yu is not only a little emotional. Sister, I have helped you make a lot of money again. Subsequently, Lin Yu drove the Camaro back slowly to his grocery store. For this brand new Camaro, Wanda was shocked again. However, Lin Yu used the strange variation of the grocery store to prevaricate the past. Lin Yu didn't want to make up other reasons. Because, the future variation is estimated to be more. There will be more and more weird things happening around Wanda. Fabricating a lie can only make oneself fall into eternal disaster. At the moment, as the core guy in the supporting role in the Marvel world, Nick Fury is driving to the Lin Yu grocery store. Facing the reports of his two subordinates, his mentality has completely jumped. He decided to see for himself how weird this guy named Lin Yu was. This time, he didn't bring many people. It just brought a more confidant, Sharon Cat. It was later the new girlfriend of the Captain of the United States. In the entire S.H.I.E.L.D., among the few people that Nick Fury trusts most, there is Sharon. Definitely, and Hill Agent is also the one he trusts the most. However, Hill Agent happens to have a task, so he can only take Sharon. He wanted to come alone by himself, but after thinking about it, he was still a little worried. After all, his two generals have become weird. If you have a problem, you can help yourself with someone. 10 minutes later, Nick Fury drove his black bulletproof Chevrolet SUV to the door of Lin Yu's grocery store. But what surprised him a bit? The situation here is completely different from what I arranged to investigate before. According to the investigation, Lin Yu's grocery store is operating in a dire situation. There is basically no business, and it can only be difficult to maintain the daily expenses of the two brothers and sisters. But now, Nick Fury sees a constant flow of people in the grocery store. Good business is terrible. What's happening here? Did you make a mistake in your previous investigation? Is Lin Yu still a business genius? With a confused expression, Nick Fury and Sharon got out of the car. After passing through the crowd, the two finally arrived at the grocery store that they had heard of many times. But everything that greeted the eyes, but one of the two was stunned. This grocery store is really weird. Because they found that the goods in this grocery store were too ordinary. All are ordinary daily necessities. Moreover, there is no famous brand, all of them are small brands that have not even heard of the name. Is that what Natasha Romanoff and Phil Coulson said are all fine? Nick Fury muttered to himself. At the moment, Lin Yu and Wanda brother and sister are very busy. There were too many people in line to check out, and the two didn't seem to notice the arrival of Nick Fury and Sharon. In this regard, Nick Fury did not care. He felt that Lin Yu probably wouldn't know himself. Although he knows Natasha Romanoff and Phil Coulson, it does not necessarily mean that he also knows himself. Compared with their two high-level agents, their information is more confidential. Seeing that Lin Yu and brother and sister were still busy, Nick Fury took Sharon to stroll around the store. Behind the bar, while helping to collect the money, Lin Yu quietly took a few glances at the black charcoal. How could Lin Yu not recognize such obvious characteristics? Even in a crowd of thousands, you can definitely see him at a glance. His head is bare and he wears a Cyclops eye mask, who is not S.H.I.E.L.D. director Nick Fury. But Lin Yu was not surprised by the arrival of Nick Fury. The ability he showed has definitely reached the standard for joining Avengers. Nick Fury will come sooner or later. It's just that Lin Yu didn't expect it to be so fast. And another thing I didn't expect was that Nick Fury came with Sharon. This woman, in the Marvel world, is also a core supporting role. Just when Lin Yu was thinking wildly, the system prompt in my mind also rang again. Ding, congratulations to the host for meeting Marvel's core protagonist, S.H.I.E.L.D. director Nick Fury, for getting 2 plot points. Ding, congratulations to the host for meeting Marvel's core supporting role Sharon, and earning 1 plot point. Hear this sound. Lin Yu was taken aback for a moment. Unexpectedly, this black charcoal head turned out to be a protagonist. 3 plot points, get it again. In addition to what Lin Yu had left before, it has now reached 4 plot points. At the moment, just when Lin Yu was busy with excitement while paying attention to his system panel, Nick Fury frowned and picked up a black blindfold on the shelf. What? Nick Fury was surprised. This eye mask looks introverted, simple and elegant. Compared with this, the one that I am wearing on my eyes now looks a bit too crude. Time is approaching noon. The number of customers in the grocery store has gradually disappeared. The Lin Yu brothers and sisters who have been busy all morning can finally sit in the chairs and rest for a while. But Wanda's face was still very excited. In one morning, he made nearly thousands of dollars. This was totally unimaginable before. In recent days, the number of customers in the store has indeed increased a lot. And most of them were introduced through acquaintances. Even 70 to 80% of the customers are members of nearby gangs. Wanda suspected that the dozen or so guys that day must have secretly advertised their store after returning. Otherwise, business will not be so good. Gradually, there were only 4 or 5 customers left in the store. Except for Nick Fury, everyone else is also preparing to check out. While receiving the money, Wanda looked at the 2 people in front of him, her expression puzzled. Nick Fury and Sharon, both wearing black suits, are a bit out of tune with the environment here. Wanda turned her head and asked Lin Yu, "Brother, are these 2 people from S.H.I.E.L.D. again?" Even Wanda can see what they are wearing, which is very similar to what Phil Coulson did before. And Wanda has not contacted any other official departments except S.H.I.E.L.D. Therefore, we can only guess that they are S.H.I.E.L.D. Unexpectedly, it really made her guess right. Since Wanda's voice was not deliberately lowered or evasive, Nick Fury and Sharon both heard it. At the moment, they all turned their heads quietly and looked in the direction of the bar. And pricked his ears. Lin Yu glanced at the two casually, and then said without evasiveness, "Yes, they are also from S.H.I.E.L.D. It's just that the black charcoal head has an unusual identity, he is the chief of S.H.I.E.L.D. That woman is his subordinate and a high-level agent." Wanda nodded slightly without expression. But, after hearing what Lin Yu said, Nick Fury and Sharon were completely stunned. This guy actually really knows his identity. Not only Nick Fury, but even Sharon knows it. Oh my goodness. Who the hell is he? Where did you get this information? I thought that Lin Yu would be shocked when he revealed his identity. But I didn't expect that they knew myself well. At this moment, the customers in the store have finally left. Nick Fury and Sharon walked slowly to the bar. "Do you know who I am?" Nick Fury asked calmly. As an agent leader, he doesn't show his true emotions. Although he was shocked, his face was calm. It seems that he doesn't care about Lin Yu knowing his identity. "Definitely, you are the leader of comrades Natasha Romanoff and Phil Coulson. They mentioned you to me." Lin Yu spread his hands indifferently and said. Nick Fury naturally didn't believe it. Natasha Romanoff and Phil Coulson are one of the two strongest agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. It is impossible to disclose their own news to outsiders at will. But, hearing Lin Yu's words, Nick Fury also instantly understood Lin Yu's greatness. "Absolutely nonsense. Haha," Mr. Lin joked. Nick Fury said lightly. However, Lin Yu didn't bother to talk nonsense with him. "Do you have anything to do with me?" Lin Yu asked straightforwardly. Seeing Lin Yu asking so directly, Nick Fury was slightly taken aback. He is no longer polite. There was a heavy look on his face. It seems that what he will say next is very important. "Did you know that the Earth is not the only life in this world? There are countless extraterrestrial lives outside the Earth. Some of them are brutal, some are powerful, and they look forward to the Earth." Nick Fury was talking vigorously. Lin Yu suddenly waved his hand, interrupting Nick Fury's talk. "Are you talking about Kree and Skuru?" Lin Yu asked casually. This question, asked Nick Fury directly. The affairs of the Kree and the Skuru are truly secrets. In the entire S.H.I.E.L.D., only a handful of people know. Even Sharon behind Nick Fury has no authority to know. And Lin Yu said it casually. How do you know everything?" Nick Fury was completely stunned. He originally wanted to use alien affairs to bluff Lin Yu, and then think of a way to recruit him into Avengers. But now, the plan is completely ruined. It was me who was fooled. It's not a secret, Phil Coulson told me a long time ago. Lin Yu said indifferently. True and false and true, directly exploded Nick Fury's mentality. Phil Coulson does know it, but how could it be possible to tell him this kind of thing? Nick Fury felt that after preparing for a long time, he didn't use any of them. Lin Yu is simply the hardest guy he has ever met when he lives such a big life. Also the most nonsense guy. Just explain your intentions, don't talk about it. I didn't see my little sister and I busy all morning, are they almost exhausted? Lin Yu said with some dissatisfaction. Indeed, this sentence is not a lie. Throughout the morning, Lin Yu and Wanda did not relax. Although it did make a lot of money. But, not a single point fell into Lin Yu's pocket. All were put away by Wanda. Lin Yu naturally feels tired because he has nothing to gain from his efforts. Wanda on the side obviously doesn't look tired. She is still tirelessly counting how much money she made in the morning. Hear what Lin Yu said. Nick Fury simply opened up completely. Anyway, this guy knows everything, so it's better to open the skylight and talk brightly. Nick Fury has a lot of experience and his way of dealing with problems is more sophisticated. I'm here this time to invite you to join Avengers. This alliance was established to resist the invasion of forces from outside the Earth. I hope you can seriously consider it. Nick Fury said sincerely. For Lin Yu, he no longer cares about so many things that are not assessed. After personal contact with him, combined with what happened during this period, he felt that if Lin Yu did not stand in the same camp as himself, it would definitely be an unfortunate thing for the S.H.I.E.L.D. and Avengers plan. It may even be a tragic thing. If Lin Yu goes against him, it will be extremely scary. Simply, no investigation, no assessment. Let's get to your own camp first. Hearing Nick Fury's words, Lin Yu remained calm. There were no surprises in the slightest. Because he had guessed this when Natasha Romanoff and Phil Coulson arrived. As a rebirth, Lin Yu knows very well that in the early days of Marvel, Nick Fury has been trying his best to form Avengers. The strength he showed was enough to make him value it. But Lin Yu smiled slightly and said, "It's not easy for you to go all the way, so I'll give you a suggestion. You can think about it." Nick Fury smiled, "There is a show. You said, if I can do it, I will satisfy you." Nick Fury said hurriedly. He thought that Lin Yu wanted to make a request. Lin Yu smiled and said, "I have no problem joining Avengers. It's just that I don't obey, and the more I control, the less I listen. You set me a consultant position, just like an honorary professor in a university." Quote. Upon hearing this request, Nick Fury immediately understood what Lin Yu meant. "You mean, although you have joined Avengers, you cannot listen to any orders, and we have to recognize your identity?" Lin Yu nodded and said, "Yes, that's what it means. The most important point is that I allow you to use my name to scare people." Lin Yu emphasized it emphatically. Nick Fury was shocked directly. This is the real master. If you do this, Lin Yu can do many convenient things in the name of S.H.I.E.L.D., but S.H.I.E.L.D. is completely unable to direct the other party. Simply put, this seems to be completely useless for S.H.I.E.L.D. But Nick Fury took a deep look at Lin Yu again. In Lin Yu's eyes, he couldn't see any jokes at all. In other words, he is serious. How powerful is it to say such crazy words? Nick Fury frowned slightly. Then, seems to figure out something. Didn't I have decided just now, as long as Lin Yu is brought to the same camp with myself, that's enough. Even if they were only Avengers, consultants in name, they would be regarded as grasshoppers on a boat. Okay, I promise you. Nick Fury said solemnly. Instead, Lin Yu was taken aback for a while. He thought that Nick Fury would go back and think about it. Then, during the time he was considering, he made a little big move to help him make up his mind. But I didn't expect Nick Fury to have such courage. Okay, you deserve to be the director of S.H.I.E.L.D. You will definitely not regret your decision. Lin Yu laughed, obviously in a good mood. Joining Avengers and being a consultant who doesn't care about anything is something Lin Yu has long thought of. Your own system needs to be upgraded, and the identity of Avengers is essential. With this level of identity, whether you are participating in more plots or seeing the core protagonists of Marvel, it will be more convenient. It will be easier to get plot points. And S.H.I.E.L.D. wipes behind. No worries about anything. Definitely. The most important is the identity of the consultant is to make S.H.I.E.L.D. have no right to control himself. If you want to help yourself, you can, but it depends on your mood. I hope so, Nick Fury said with a slight smile. He also understands the stakes. Lin Yu is obviously not an honest guy, the troublesome ability is terrible. After acknowledging his identity, S.H.I.E.L.D. has to be responsible for all his actions. But Nick Fury had to agree. The consequences of not agreeing may be even more difficult to accept. Now that the discussion has been done, Nick Fury and Sharon are going to go back. At this moment, Nick Fury suddenly put a black blindfold on the bar and said calmly, "Oh, yes, I have to pay for this thing." Seeing Nick Fury's behavior, Lin Yu laughed again. The director of S.H.I.E.L.D., the guy who controls the strongest organization in the Marvel world, finally failed to escape the influence of the lucky cat. The blindfold in Nick Fury's hand was actually just made by Lin Yu when he bought the goods. Unexpectedly, Nick Fury was really attracted. In fact, this black eye mask is similar to the one on Nick Fury's eyes. There is no styling. From Lin Yu's perspective, there is not much difference between the two. But in Nick Fury's eyes, it's different. It seems that the blindfold in Lin Yu's shop is obviously much better than the one I wear. Is this what Phil Coulson is talking about? It really is a boutique. Nick Fury was very generous and took out his wallet directly. In the wallet, all the bulging is US dollars. Wanda, who was counting money, seemed to smell the dollar bills and raised her head. Moment. Her eyes are looking straight. With just a glance, Wanda can see how much money is in Nick Fury's wallet. 500 yuan. Without giving Lin Yu a chance to speak, Wanda directly raised 5 fingers. Then, excitedly explained, "The material of this blindfold is quite good. It is the treasure of our store. If you buy it from another person, it will cost at least 800 yuan. For these explanations, Lin Yu is a master of roar. No matter what nonsense, I really am not Wanda's opponent. But, for this transaction, Lin Yu has other ideas. Seeing that Nick Fury was about to withdraw money from his wallet, Lin Yu hurriedly reached out his hand and stopped the opponent's movements. Nick Fury was taken aback suddenly. Even Wanda looked at her old brother incomprehensibly. What's the situation? No more money, or is your asking price lower? Wanda was puzzled. She had already seen that there was at least $1,000 in that purse. I want 500, which is pretty good. Isn't my brother going to ask for 1,000 yuan? While Wanda was thinking about it, Lin Yu smiled and said, no, we don't sell the eye masks in this town shop, just change them. Not for sale, just change. What to change? Nick Fury was taken aback. In addition to Nick Fury, Wanda and Sharon also pricked their ears. No one knows what Lin Yu wants to do. At this moment, Lin Yu smiled slightly, slowly took out the pair of glasses that had been with him for many years from his clothes pocket, and wiped it lightly with the corner of his clothes. When wiping the glasses, Lin Yu tilted his body gently. The direction of the glasses was exactly aligned with Sharon's position. While wiping, Lin Yu let out a sigh of relief while putting it on his mouth. The three people in the grocery store are all waiting for Lin Yu's next words. However, Lin Yu is not in a hurry. Wipe the pair of glasses brightly. Then, slowly put it back in his pocket. It is too dangerous to wear glasses now. There is not only his own little girl in the house, but also Nick Fury. Lin Yu doesn't want to see what he shouldn't. But, when he breathed, Lin Yu already saw what he wanted to see. Finally, when the three of them were a little impatient, Lin Yu slowly said, as an advisor to Avengers, shouldn't you give me an assistant? Before Nick Fury could say anything, Lin Yu said again, I think Sharon is very good, looks very capable, and very suitable to be my assistant. No. As soon as Lin Yu's voice fell, the three people in the room shouted at the same time. The unanimous voice of the three even shocked Lin Yu. Nick Fury and Sharon don't agree, so why don't your little sister agree, go crazy? Lin Yu hurriedly pulled Wanda aside, frowning and asked, what's the situation, brother? I want an assistant, why do you disagree? Wanda didn't show any weakness, pinched his waist, raised his head and said, I don't know you yet. I must have fallen in love with that woman. If I say no, I can't do it. Hearing this, Lin Yu's head is big. Meow, I am a man, so how come I can't have other women if I have a sister? No, I don't want to have other women either. I just want an assistant. But, it is irrational to argue with Wanda. Lin Yu rolled his eyes and whispered in Wanda's ear quietly, sister, you are stupid, I want to find you a free salesperson. You see, both of us are so busy, and you hire one specifically. How much does the salesperson want? At least several $1,000s a month. Are you willing to pay this money? Upon hearing Lin Yu's words, Wanda immediately wanted to understand. It is definitely more cost-effective to hire a salesperson for free than to spend money to hire a salesperson. Definitely, if Wanda is to hire a salesperson at his own expense, Wanda would rather do it himself. Seeing that Wanda nodded ignorantly, Lin Yu hurriedly came to the bar again. At this moment, Sharon has already expressed to Nick Fury that he is not willing to follow Lin Yu as an assistant. She is a high-level agent and can clearly do many important tasks. To be a little assistant here is really awkward. At the moment, Lin Yu has seen his decision in Nick Fury's face. Sharon is one of his most trusted agents in S.H.I.E.L.D. He wouldn't let Sharon come to be Lin Yu's assistant. Not only is Sharon unwilling, but he is also unwilling. You want an assistant, I can make arrangements for you after I go back to the game, but Sharon can't. Nick Fury shook his head and said solemnly. But, at the moment Lin Yu's smile on his face made him feel a little confused. I refused, why is the other party so calm? Is it possible that what he wanted was not Sharon, but someone else? Do not. Natasha Romanoff is even more impossible. Nick Fury thought secretly in his heart. At this moment, Lin Yu suddenly put his hands on the bar, with a wicked smile on his face, slowly said, if you don't use Sharon to change it, I won't sell that blindfold to you. Hearing Lin Yu's words, Nick Fury suddenly wanted to laugh. Is this guy funny? Will I change out my strongest subordinates for a small blindfold? Isn't this a joke? Nick Fury turned his head, looked at Sharon, and then at the blindfold in his hand. His brows frowned slightly. At the moment, no one noticed. On the table leading to the door of the grocery store, the tireless beckoning cat suddenly lit up with 2 red lights in his eyes. It looks extremely weird. After the red light flashed, Nick Fury's brow furrowed deeper. He began to feel that he was wrong just now. This blindfold is really good. It seems worthwhile to change this blindfold with one hand. And Sharon is just here as an assistant for Lin Yu, and she is still under her own. If there is a task, he can still arrange her. Even help yourself to monitor Lin Yu. This is killing 2 birds with 1 stone. It's perfect to be able to change to such a perfect blindfold and monitor Lin Yu, a consultant. A smile suddenly appeared on Nick Fury's face. Seems to figure out something. He slowly turned around and faced Sharon. Then, the voice said earnestly, "Sharon, I think it is very important to be an assistant to Mr. Lin, and only you are the most suitable." Sharon's face turned black when she heard these words. What's going on? Just now you just said no, you agreed so soon. Does the chief really want to change a blindfold with himself? Go crazy. How do you feel like you are just a cargo? At this moment, Sharon suddenly felt disappointed in Nick Fury. Perhaps, I have too high expectations for Nick Fury. Sharon lowered her head slowly. He didn't answer Nick Fury's words, nor did he resist any behavior, so he walked quietly behind Lin Yu. As an agent, Sharon knows his job attributes well. Even if Nick Fury's decision is not satisfactory, he is after all the director of S.H.I.E.L.D., his immediate boss. He must obey his orders. Since I can't resist, I can only endure it silently. But when I stood behind Lin Yu and saw Lin Yu's thin back, a strange thought suddenly came up in Sharon's mind. Perhaps there is nothing wrong with being an assistant to this young and handsome guy. Ding, your assistant Sharon is extremely downhearted, looking for success by relying on goals, and having a sense of dependence on you. In Lin Yu's mind, the system prompt sounded suddenly. Lin Yu's face was taken aback, and he hurriedly looked at Sharon behind him. I saw that on Sharon's lowered cheek, there seemed to be a little blush. It all works. Lin Yu suddenly regretted his decision. Because it seems that Wanda has a sense of dependence on herself, so she makes herself feel bad and desperate every day. Now it's great, here's another Sharon. I just wanted her to be really just an assistant to help herself manage the grocery store. By the way, she put on her glasses and enjoyed it every day. However, I didn't expect that when she just became an assistant, she was so mutated. Wouldn't it be impossible to get rid of it later? Lin Yu patted his forehead, a wry smile that only he understood appeared on his face. And at the moment, Nick Fury in front of Lin Yu has put the blindfold in his pocket, for fear that Lin Yu will regret it. It looks like a petty citizen who is greedy for petty bargains. Mr. Lin, oh no, Consultant Lin, then I will leave first. Nick Fury looked a little bit afraid of Lin Yu regretting. At the moment, in his eyes, that blindfold is the best. Paying a Sharon, using power for personal gain, filled his heart with satisfaction. At the same time, there was also a hint of joy. Lin Yu is feeling a little upset now, waved his hand casually, and said, "Come on, I'm not going to keep you for dinner." Nick Fury chuckled, turned and walked outside the door. Behind him, Lin Yu's voice came again. "Oh, yes, I will go to our unit headquarters when I have time later," and recognize the door. After Nick Fury left, Lin Yu's grocery store became quiet again. Quiet is a little weird. When there were only Lin Yu and Wanda, they were not so quiet. Behind the bar, Wanda sat on Lin Yu's gaming chair, holding her hands, looking at Sarong with a cold expression on her face. She didn't seem to understand a little until now. The money is indeed saved. But between myself and my brother, there was an extra woman. Why didn't he ask that black coalhead to arrange a male assistant for his brother? Why must it be a woman? And this woman looks quite pretty. Isn't this making yourself trouble? But Sharon is not a good crop either. After developing a sense of dependence on Lin Yu in her heart, she has made up her mind to do a good job of Lin Yu's assistant. At the moment, seeing Wanda looked a little unfriendly in her eyes, she did not show any weakness. The same embraces his hands, his face is cold. The temperature in the entire grocery store seems to have dropped a lot. The hardest thing is Lin Yu. He seems to have seen his desperate and tragic future. Why did he leave Sharon behind as soon as his mind got hot? Maybe it's because I don't think the captain of the United States is worthy of Sharon. I am saving this good comrade Sharon. Lin Yu was thinking about it in a wild way. At this moment, Erha suddenly rolled down from the upstairs. Lin Yu's eyes lit up. Can't afford to provoke, still can't hide. Well, you two are familiar with each other first, I'll go out for a stroll. Lin Yu said weakly. Then, he beckoned to Arhu. One person and one dog rushed out of the gate like running away. Holding Erha and walking on the street, Lin Yu finally understood in his heart that Erha was his best friend. Erha's fat toot figure immediately attracted the attention of many girls. Some people even squatted down and interacted with Erha. Erha is also very well behaved and obedient, and will act like a baby. The girls who often provoke the onlookers laugh together. See this beautiful picture. Lin Yu's complicated mood finally calmed down a lot, and took out the glasses he carried next to him and put them on his face. S.H.I.E.L.D. Returning to Nick Fury at S.H.I.E.L.D. headquarters, it seems a little absent-minded. As soon as he returned to S.H.I.E.L.D., the Hill agent walked up. She was a little puzzled. Didn't the director go out with Sharon? Why is it that only the director himself came back? Director, where is Sharon? Hill agent asked. She has a better relationship with Nick Fury on weekdays, so she asks more casually. But, hearing this question, Nick Fury seemed a little guilty. After all, Sharon was used by herself to change the blindfold. To put it nicely, there is a new task. But in fact, it is indeed because I love this blindfold that I choose to let her be Lin Yu's assistant. Ah, she has a new mission. Nick Fury said casually. Hill was taken aback for a moment. Since the secretary didn't want to say, then I didn't ask myself. Although the relationship between the two is relatively good, the secretary does not want to let himself know about the task, so it is better not to ask. At this moment, Nick Fury put a hand in his pocket, touched his new blindfold, and then asked, by the way, what's the situation with you? Hearing Nick Fury asking himself, Hill remembered that he was here to report on work. There was a hint of surprise on her face, and then she said with some excitement, Director, it's basically confirmed that the frozen in that ice layer is the body of the captain of the United States. Nick Fury nodded and said, okay, send more people to bring the hero's body back to the motherland as soon as possible. Okay, Chief, Hill responded. At the same time, in the basement of Tony Stark's seaside villa, Tony is studying his steel battle suit. Although in that cave, he only designed a rough idea, but he couldn't let it go. The design of the steel battle suit was just a flash of inspiration at the time. However, the aura lingered no matter how. Therefore, Tony decided to make a real steel battle suit. With the help of JARVIS, Tony quickly developed the first generation of steel battle suit after many attempts. Compared with the sketches at the time, this steel battle suit is more advanced, more comfortable to wear, and more powerful in function. The stocks of Stark Industries have fallen wildly in recent days. Tony hid in the house and didn't go out. However, Obadiahston was not idle. He came to the cave where Tony was trapped. The plan to eradicate Tony was a good one, but it failed. He wanted to find out who was in it. But, there were unexpected gains from this operation. In the ruins, Obadiahston unexpectedly found the design drawings of the steel battle suit. The drawing was crushed under the rubble, and it was not burned to ashes by the flames of the three-headed dog of hell. Obadiah was shocked as a heavenly man, like a treasure. After returning to the company, he immediately arranged for someone to secretly start the research work of the steel battle suit. The second day, early morning, Sharon came to the grocery store early, stood at the counter, and assumed the duties of a salesperson. Wanda also woke up early and bought breakfast for Lin Yu. For the first time, Lin Yu used to take care of her. I didn't expect Wanda to grow up after experiencing some things. Looking at the neatly arranged breakfast in front of him, Lin Yu shed tears of excitement. After half a day of running in yesterday, the two women successfully honed their synthesis skills. Although no one cares about anyone. But, at least he didn't fight. This has made Lin Yu very pleased. At the moment, before Lin Yu finished his meal, some guests came to the door. In the past 2 days, the lucky cat is getting stronger and stronger. At the same time, Lin Yu also began to feel that his decision was correct. Although two women will cause trouble for themselves, with an additional assistant, they don't have to be too busy. And Langsha looked like a clean person. Being a small salesperson is absolutely no problem at all. It was two young lovers who walked in the door to buy things early in the morning. They seemed to be shopping casually. When I came to the grocery store, I didn't rush to buy anything. Instead, look left and look again. Seems to be picking something. Naturally, Wanda, a financial fan, will not let every customer go. Seeing that the two hadn't picked a suitable product, they hurriedly greeted them and introduced them to them. But Sharon, who was standing behind the bar, seemed to have a dignified expression on her face. Her eyes stared at the two customers closely, not knowing what she was thinking. Lin Yu is still eating the breakfast in his hands. Erha squatted beside Lin Yu, shaking his tail constantly, as if he wanted Lin Yu to give some breadcrumbs. However, after waiting for a long time, no slag was left behind. Unconsciously, the two customers were getting closer and closer to Lin Yu while looking at the merchandise. Lin Yu just wanted to move up his small table to make room. Suddenly, a flash of cold light. A dagger suddenly appeared in the hands of the male customer. His face was cold, and his shot was extremely fast. When Wanda and Lin Yu didn't reflect at all, they stabbed Lin Yu's heart. He is ready to kill with one blow. As a top killer, the man's experience is very sophisticated. And the shot is tough. At the same time, his companion, the woman, also took out a pistol with a silencer around her waist. The scene suddenly became extremely dangerous. Ding, your vest sensed the danger of being pierced, and automatically changed its material to evolve into a vibranium vest. Ding, your grocery store is afraid of being hurt by a pistol, and the air suddenly becomes damp. In this kind of air, the gunpowder in the bullet can be damp in 2 seconds. But only Lin Yu knows these system prompts. Others just felt that the air seemed to suddenly become humid. But in this kind of emergency, no one cares about the air humidity. At the moment, Wanda's eyes were round, and there was endless fear in her heart. A red light started to light up on Wanda's body. Especially on her hands, has completely turned into a crimson color. At Lin Yu's feet, Erha also seemed to have discovered something wrong. On its body, black and green colors have begun to appear. It seems that in the next instant, it can jump up immediately, swallowing the dagger together with the arm that is holding it. These changes were completed in an instant. The man holding the dagger didn't seem to notice it at all. There was already a triumphant smile on his face. It is expected that in the next second, the target will die on his own dagger. Then, he and his partner will kill the remaining 2 women, finally clean the battlefield, and leave easily. $5 million in remuneration will soon be credited to his account. This money is indeed coming a little faster. It is unexpected that a small grocery store owner is worth so much money. But, for myself, the higher the price, the better. The only regret is, because Lin Yu turned his back to him, he could not see the slight smile at the corner of Lin Yu's mouth. Although the system has not yet been promoted to level 4, other people's things cannot yet mutate. But, in your own grocery store, can you be injured if you have a system? 2 hectares, 1 is not something those two can deal with. However, at this time, a green hand suddenly appeared on Lin Yu's back. I don't know when, Sharon has quietly come to Lin Yu's side. As the top agent in the Marvel world, when the 2 people first walked in, she noticed something wrong. With a slight flip of his wrist, the dagger in the man's hand was knocked into the air. A hint of surprise suddenly appeared on the man's face. This woman is so strong. But, although the man was surprised, he didn't show any tension on his face. Because they also have a second line of insurance. That woman stopped herself, and her companion. And, from the corner of the man's eyes, he could see that his companion's pistol had been aimed at the target's chest. At the moment, in the whole grocery store, the only one who feels calm is Lin Yu himself. After hearing the prompt sound in his mind, Lin Yu has basically determined that he will never get hurt. So, Lin Yu at the moment seems to be a little relaxed, feeling outside. But Lin Yu was still a little surprised by Sharon's shot. Unexpectedly, the means of this agent are indeed somewhat unusual. One shot, the man's assassination was resolved in an instant. Immediately afterwards, the two quarreled with each other. The other side, The woman had also aimed the pistol at Lin Yu's chest. Her face also showed a trace of fierceness, although Sharon's strength shocked her a bit. But, as a top killer, she never affects her performance because of any accident. Her fingers had already begun to press the trigger on the pistol. However, at the moment, she suddenly felt that her hand seemed to be unable to move. Immediately afterwards, she saw that a burst of red energy wrapped her hands. Following the red light, then she saw things that she would never forget. I also introduced her to various products just now. At the moment, Wanda, with a bright smile, slowly floated up. All around her are that bright red color. Even Wanda's eyes flashed red. At the moment, Wanda stretched one hand forward and aimed it at the hand of the woman holding the gun. It seems that it was these red energies that made her unable to control her hands. At the moment Lin Yu was threatened with life, Wanda finally awakening Scarlet Witch's ability. Boom! Wanda's hand flicked lightly, and the female assassin's body flew out. After knocking down 2 shelves in a row, he lay on the ground, convulsing slightly. It seems that the injury is not light. And at the moment, Sharon's fight with the male assassin was basically over. Although the opponent is a top-level assassin, he still cannot match the S.H.I.E.L.D. high-level agent. His ability is all on assassination. Close combat is not Sharon's opponent at all. 20 seconds. Sharon subdued the opponent and controlled it. The entire assassination operation lasted less than half a minute before it was all over. The 2 top killers were planted in an ordinary grocery store. At the moment, the mood of the 2 of them is really a bit complicated. That man is fine, after all, Sharon's strength has been personally learned by him, and he is willing to go downhill. That woman is a bit miserable. Scarlet Witch's strength, even though she was just awakening, was enough to leave her without resistance. Even Sharon was shocked to see Wanda at the moment floating in the air. She has heard of investigation reports by Phil Coulson and Natasha Romanoff. I know that Lin Yu's sister is not an ordinary person. But, unexpectedly, she was so powerful. What is not an ordinary person? This kind of power is not human at all. At this moment, Lin Yu gently soothed some grinning teeth beside him, looking quite happy. Then, slowly stood up. Did not care about the female assassin who was lying on the ground and could not stand up. Lin Yu came directly to the male assassin controlled by Sharon. He smiled slightly, and then said softly, unexpectedly, someone paid an assassin to kill me. After Lin Yu got up, also stood up. Then quietly followed Lin Yu behind. And Wanda, a little surprised, put away his ability. And slowly fell from the sky. Although she had a lot of puzzles, at the moment did not say anything. At this time, let's give everything to my brother first. Wanda has this consciousness. Although she is often unreasonable, she still knows that Lin Yu is the boss of the family at critical moments. At this moment, the man whose arm was controlled by Sharon suddenly gave a wry smile. Neither did I expect that the women around you are better than the other. At this time, the man was basically desperate. Therefore, it seems to be much calmer. Ever since he became a killer, he had fantasized about the day of failure. It's just that I didn't expect it to come so soon. Go ahead, if you want to die faster, just say your employer's name. Lin Yu said softly. But, obviously, the other party will not easily name the employer. This is a taboo for a killer. Even if he died, he wouldn't say it. Otherwise, he will be punished by the organization. His friends, family, and all those who have been in contact with him will be wiped out. Don't bother to speak, I can't say it, just kill me. The man smiled, seeming to have taken life and death down. Seeing the look and tone of the male assassin, even Sharon frowned. This kind of assassin can't help him even if he is himself. Unless taken to the interrogation room of S.H.I.E.L.D. Give him a shot of Veritaserum. But, obviously Lin Yu has no plan to hand over the person who wants to kill him to others. In his mind, there was a solution long ago. Sharon, let him go. Lin Yu said softly suddenly. Sharon was taken aback for a moment. Let him go. Lin Yu is what he wants to do. This guy wanted to kill you just now, but now he wants to let him go. Sharon looked at Lin Yu again, her eyes full of questions. Lin Yu smiled slightly and nodded. Finally, Sharon slowly let go of the opponent's arm. Although she is puzzled, her current status is Lin Yu's assistant. Since Lin Yu has made this decision, she can only do so. The male assassin did not expect that the other party actually released himself. Although the joint of one of his arms has been misaligned, it does not affect his walking. He looked at Lin Yu a little puzzled, then looked at Wanda and Sharon again, and slowly got up. I don't understand why the other party let him go. But he still walked slowly towards the door. On the other side, on the ground near the shelf, his teammates were still lying there. But he doesn't care about his teammates. I was lucky enough to be able to escape. Slowly, the male assassin walked to the gate. The two women, Wanda and Sharon, looked anxious when the male assassin was about to walk out the door. They all thought that Lin Yu would have any wonderful ideas. However, until now, Lin Yu is still unmoved. It seems that I really want to let him go. Even the female assassin lying on the ground was full of despair in her eyes. If the teammate is gone, then her own fate will probably be even more miserable. However, just when everyone except Lin Yu felt that the male killer union left the grocery store easily. Behind the grocery store, the lucky cat's eyes suddenly lit up. And at the moment, the male assassin turned his head suddenly. Stopped. His eyes turned to the shelves in the grocery store. On that shelf, there is a fruit knife. He had seen it just before he did it. That fruit knife. Modeling. Quality. It's all about the same. But, in the eyes of this male killer, it seemed to be a top dagger. If you can own such a dagger, then coupled with your own strength, you will definitely be able to make yourself a truly top killer. My own assassination failed this time, probably because the dagger was not good enough. Since the other party has decided to let him go, then why can't I buy this dagger and then leave? At this moment, the idea of buying a dagger in the man's mind suddenly took over his entire brain. Don't go. In the surprised eyes of Wanda and Sharon, the man slowly turned around and came to the shelf. Then, as if getting a treasure, he picked up the fruit knife. I want to buy this superb dagger. How much does it cost? Let's talk about it. The two women, Wanda and Sharon, dropped their jaws completely. How does it feel so weird? This guy walked to the door, but he didn't even leave. The reason for not leaving turned out to be a fruit knife. He still stupidly said that the fruit knife in his hand is the best dagger. Go crazy. Still scared, the whole grocery store seemed to be filled with an extremely strange atmosphere. Even Sharon felt chilly. And at the moment, Lin Yu walked slowly in front of the male assassin, not afraid that the other party was still holding a weapon in his hand. It's not easy to buy this superb dagger. Lin Yu smiled slightly, then stretched out a finger, and then said, $10,000 plus the employer's name. Sharon took 2 steps back quietly. She has been scared by Lin Yu. Original. It is not the other party who is weird, but the owner of this grocery store. An ordinary fruit knife that can no longer be ordinary is sold for $10,000. Moreover, the name of the employer is also required to buy it. It's a black shop. In this case, Wanda's is a little better at adapting to ability. After all, he just had some terrifying power. And this grocery store is not normal. At this moment, after hearing Lin Yu's words, the male assassin's face suddenly showed an expression of extreme pain. $10,000 is nothing to him. Buying a superb dagger, $10,000 is considered reasonable. But speaking out the employer's name touches your bottom line. For a while, his heart struggled extremely. The expression on his face gradually distorted. There seems to be a pair of angels, one black and the other white, fighting in his mind. But obviously Black Angel has foreign aid. And this foreign aid is Lin Yu. At this time, Lin Yu slowly said again, I will give you 3 seconds to think about it, otherwise we won't sell this superb dagger. Lin Yu stretched out 3 fingers. The countdown began in his mouth. 3. The man's face showed an expression of extreme pain, even more painful than the failure of the mission. 2. The man suddenly grabbed his hair with both hands and pulled it vigorously. 1. I hope everyone will support it and subscribe more.